Okay, let's see. I think I'm live. Welcome to the stream. Good morning, Grace, wherever you are. Grace, of course, still heavily embroiled in Keemstar drama. They also went to Mohegan Sun. I didn't have a chance to watch the entire stream, but the title of it was that like they almost got scalped at the Mohegan Sun. I don't know. I'm gonna have to check that out. VP stream yesterday, but there was also like a lot of Purple content. When I went to her page, Purple was doing like a house tour of his dad's house and like detailing all the repairs that had to be done. It was kind of interesting. Let's see who else. Ruby did Celebrity Sunday, of course. Link's Tell All interview, Grace breakdown, and then we have the Jedi, who came up with, I think, the best 420 stream. Rich got blazed and went into the grocery store, started talking about magic beans. Went on a hunt for chocolate bunnies. Then he kind of had he had another like existential kind of moment in the car after the store of realizing that like if he has 20 years left to live, that's not enough time for him to become a doctor. So I thought that was pretty interesting. The only doctor you should trust is Dr. Moscow. Yeah. But yeah, that's the update on everybody. The Jedi did that stream, and then they did another stream where, I got to tell you this, man. I can't believe I almost forgot this. Jedi Joy staged maybe the greatest closet talk of all time, man. She went on an absolute, like, yap bender. It was amazing. Rich was trying to quietly play the guitar while she was talking, but it was really epic. It was one of the greatest closet talks of all time. But anyway, that's all the news I have for you. What else? Well, I've got people requested me to review the Texas Chainsaw remake and Memento. I got those reviews done. Those will be up soon. I think that's about it. That's all I got for you. I am going to get today, though, I'm going to buy the stuff so that we can do cooking streams, or at least cooking videos. I might do a video first to make sure I won't cause any serious problems doing a cooking routine. But anyway, that's it. That's all I got. This is season 1, episode 12. This is Poltergeists, UFOs, of course, and superstitions. You went to get some Cadbury eggs. Richard had bad luck at the store. Like all the good candy was sold out. All right, here we go. Poltergeists, UFOs, and superstitions.
Deals with a controversial subject. The theories expressed are not the only possible interpretation. The viewer is invited to make a judgment based on all available information. Tonight on Sightings, a family is terrorized by a deadly poltergeist.
I raised my arm up, and there was bites all over, and they were like biting through me.
And an expert investigation brings them face to face with a frightening entity.
He's here. I'm trying to convince him to show himself.
Then, a UFO encounter leaves the witnesses scarred for life.
It's a composite of many UFO cases all rolled into one with very horrifying results.
And evidence may reveal government involvement. And...
well, this is the end, unfortunately. Another dead soldier. The cereal milk is cashed out, gonna be by the end of the stream.
did an ancient curse turn this Hawaiian paradise into hell on earth?
The people that had stayed there saw dead bodies float.
That Hawaii episode, do you think they're talking about that cursed tiki that the Bradys found? You think they were just mosquito bites? Oh my god. Part of me wants to say that there's no way, but I think I'm not gonna say a lot, but I think some of these people will use that to justify they'll use anything that comes up to try to justify whatever their belief is.
Floating in the ocean. They had terrible, terrible odors in their rooms.
Terrible odors.
We were told, don't scare away the tourists.
At that point, it started to appear.
They had large, dark eyes, claw-like hands.
I began sensing and knowing and feeling.
I do believe in life
Bed
after
bugs.
death. I mean, I've been there.
Oh my
And
gosh.
that's
Remember when Grace was getting bit by all those whatevers? Remember when they were living in the woods? And she had all those bites all over her body? What were those? Flea bites or I don't think I think they ruled out bed bugs, but man, she had something. Maybe that was aliens or poltergeists.
Scratch the surface of what the mind can do.
Let's travel through this mystical portal in the busted RV of our imaginations. Absolutely.
Connection with the unknown.
How you doing, Dynasty?
Welcome to Sightings. I'm Tim White. For one family in the Midwest, owning their own business was a dream come true. But now that business has become a constant source of terror. The family, who wishes to remain anonymous, believes that they're plagued by a malicious poltergeist who's out to destroy their dream and them.
Malicious.
It's an unlikely setting for this real-life horror story. America's heartland, where the promise of the American dream can still be realized. Clean air and water, safe neighborhoods, a place where you can still buy a house and start your own business. All the reasons why the King family came here to raise their children and why they want to stay. But staying means confronting an evil force that seems to have possessed the family.
I wish I would have paused.
One night I went to bed in the early a.m. and I woke up and my daughter, who was not quite a year old, still in diapers. She wasn't even walking. She could stand. I woke up the next morning and I felt pressure on my jaw real hard. And when I woke up and I looked up, my baby is standing straddling my neck and it's got a butcher knife shoved down my throat. Her eyes were open and she just kind of looked at me and she started screaming like I'd woke her up, but her eyes were open.
The bizarre, violent...
She had... What?
Episodes began in 19...
Hold on. Is she saying that really happened? Or is she saying she had like a dream or something? That's weird.
87. Just
shoved a butcher knife down her throat? Come on.
After the Kings purchased this home and motel, the safe haven they'd sought here turned into a waking nightmare.
We could hear pounding in the walls.
Wait, they were at a motel and they heard pounding through the walls? Gosh, who would have ever expected that?
Screaming. We heard...
Remember the story about that guy? I think the documentary was called Voyeur. But it was about the guy who owned like one of those like kind of like a ramshackle side of the road motel, and he crafted this entire an entire walkway system above all the rooms and through the walls so that he could watch everybody fucking, and like he took like copious notes about what he saw and everything. He was a weird character. What's up, Dancing on the Sun?
Chanting, we heard singing. Objects started flying across the room.
I'd wake up with bruises where it looked like somebody just beat me really bad, and bite marks.
I was looking toward the hallway, and it stepped out of the wall and stood there, which seemed to me like an eternity.
Ron King definitely worked a few enhancement matches in Memphis, I think.
And I just couldn't believe it. I was like...
When the Kings first came here and saw the home and the attached motel,
what's up, Jeremy?
It was love at first sight. But in retrospect,
I had a fun 420, but it's like everybody. I saw all the great deals people got, and I guess like the only thing we really had around here was like 40% off of like whatever, and that's really not like a. They had some other stuff, but like I don't like it when you have to be like one of the first whatever. You know what I mean? I know you miss out on it by not going, but like it's just that's way too much like stress for me. But there weren't really any good deals. I'm gonna try to get. I need like a. I need a stream smoke strain. I gotta get a new 8th today.
The Kings believed there were warning signs. The $60,000 asking price was reduced to $24,000 when the family made a serious offer. There were whisperings about a gruesome murder-suicide in the house. The former caretakers confirmed.
I thought about making the cat the thumbnail.
These suspicions.
I thought Dr. Moscow was better.
There was a lady that lived here at one time.
Oh boy.
That was supposed to have committed suicide. And the way I understand it, she was supposed to have been really mean to her father-in-law, who was an old man.
I never got any rest. Somebody was on my bed jumping continuously. My bed would move. They told me the house was haunted to start out with, but I just didn't stay around because, you know, hey, something.
I do have another Kevin clip. It looks like the original Kevin Grace meeting, unless I can't find it, isn't on, unless there's a way to expand the VODs. I can't find it. It ends for me on the one where Kevin talked to that guy that kind of looked like a caveman.
Bothered you, get away from me.
After the Kings moved in, encounters with the unknown force intensified. A mysterious stain appeared above the fireplace. The spot was sandblasted, but the stain came back.
Dahmer vibes.
Fresh paint and new wallpaper immediately peeled off the walls, and spontaneous fires kept erupting near the attic.
We thought somehow somebody was getting into the house, had keys or something, and for whatever reason was setting fires, trying to burn us out or something. And we set the children down and talked to them. We said, lock everything up. If you see any strange people or cars, come tell us. Well, I took my daughter to the bathroom, and she looked up at me, these real serious eyes, and said, Mommy, she said, Daddy didn't start the first fire, and she said, the ghosts are setting the house on fire. And she meant it. I mean, you look at her eyes and just say, she meant what she was saying.
We all know who set these fires. Tommy Wildfire Rich. Did somebody say fired up?
The haunting has taken its toll on 6-year-old Ashley. It's hard for her to talk about her experiences, even with her own father.
Maybe I can get you to talk a little bit about what went on in there.
Victim of trying to promote your recently purchased motel as being haunted to increase room rentals.
A house or something? Well, let me ask you. Huh? Don't be afraid about it.
In desperation, the Kings consulted a parapsychologist specializing in poltergeists.
Here we go.
They were having poltergeist-like activity in the house, which to me meant that things of a shadowy nature were taking place. I also...
Yeah, I didn't get any silly deals, Jeremy. There was like nothing outlandish around here, unfortunately.
Felt that the children were in danger, or could be in danger. I recommended strongly that they not be brought back into the house until...
I think I might be able to... I think that one might be up. The one where he talks to the caveman guy, there are numerous segments, but I think the one with King TL might be after he talked to Grace, because I think that's the same one where Hormaxer came on. But maybe there's like a section you can, like an expanded VOD section, because Kick website says they store them for 30 days. But then also it seems like maybe they only store a certain number, a max number maybe. I don't know.
Until the place was cleared.
Peter Moscow.
But with their life savings in the house, the Kings were trapped. After Dr. Moscow's visit, Doretta began to have terrifying visions of a grisly murder.
Doretta.
Was she seeing the ghostly images of a deadly crime?
First time that this happened, I had put my daughter, who at the time was like 1.5 years old. She was a baby. Had her in the tub, and she was standing here, and I was sitting on the side of the tub, and I felt that jolt. It felt just like...
Dr. Moscow, JF, actually played Jerry on Parks and Recreation. I mean, I want to clip it. I'm just saying, like, Kick sucks for... I mean, it sucks in general, but it especially sucks for VODs. Like... They limit you for sure 30 days, but it seems like to me they cut them off. Like once you have so many streams archived, they like start cutting them off as new one comes in. But I could be wrong.
Somebody was running a movie projector on a wall. It was vivid color. I started seeing what you call the images or whatever of a man, and the man was sitting on the side of the tub fighting with the woman, and he killed her. And I mean, that's like I felt her. She released, and it was over. And then, you know, the little girl.
Are they going to... I don't know who they're going to collab with.
Well, he hit her the first time with the shovel.
What's up, South to West? Doug Garrison keeps telling me I need to collab with Grace, but I mean, that's not... I don't think that's going to happen.
I'm sorry. Because I felt the emotion. She knew he was hurting her. And she screamed, Mommy. And Mommy was already sliding down. And he hit the little girl, and the first time she hit the wall. So he hit her again, and then her little head.
Oh,
blood
boy.
just kind of splattered on all through her little hair. And then he drug him over there.
It got to the point and bad enough where me and Steven would even stay awake at night and just make sure we didn't feel anything or see anything happening to Doretta, because she seemed to be at one point getting the most attention, I guess, if you want to put it that way. She was being almost like violated.
And then it moved away from me onto the children, and they were actually being bitten. Ashley got the...
I didn't watch his segment, but man, he had an interesting look for sure. He kind of reminded me of like a caveman version of Billy Mitchell.
Worst of that. She would scream and say, make them stop. And one time I jumped.
They're paying money to fly out a 60-view streamer? Oh my God.
On top of her.
No, I definitely don't want to fly anywhere. My God.
And I was really mad.
Right
and I
now,
told him to bite
in America,
and I could feel
no
the
thanks.
skin
Get on a
underneath
plane.
me. I could feel it like it was depressing, and I raised my arm up, and there was bites all over, and they were like biting through me, and they weren't biting me.
Are they just making like an inordinate amount of money on Kick now that they're flying out a 60-view streamer?
But they were biting her, and that was horrible because I couldn't stop them from hurting them.
Desperate to rid their lives of this terror, they turned to world-renowned parapsychologist Dr. William Roll for answers.
This particular home is located in a triangle.
Joe, I also don't want to be like, I don't want my collab to be one that's just in the middle of a bunch, like on a run of where they're willing to collab with anybody. That lowers my real estate value. You know what I mean?
Of high-tension wires.
I like this guy, Dr. William Roll.
Leaving open the possibility that the occurrences may be related to that situation. A home like this is a kind of hatchery for ghosts, you might say, because of the electromagnetic fields.
We accompanied Dr. Roll during his investigation. 3 prominent psychics were brought in to try and identify the source of the disturbing poltergeist activity.
Oh my God, wow.
I feel there was a murder here. Possible that there could be a body under this house, or bodies, too.
Michael's wife.
I don't feel it's necessary to dig them up. I feel that these people can be released simply through understanding.
The investigation proceeded. Finally, at 4:17 a.m.
He's out, the poltergeist is out here in the storage unit looking for the gold coins.
A breakthrough. The presence of an entity was strongly felt. Although our cameras couldn't pick up an image, Doretta felt she had made contact.
He's here. I'm trying to convince him to show himself.
Any idea where he might do that?
He's standing right here. You gotta work with him. I mean, this is the first time he's ever even attempted to be nice.
It's building. Right there.
Where? Can you touch where it is?
Even one of our skeptical crew members felt the presence.
I feel it, and I see right there. Yes, right here.
Just give him some. We're negotiating here.
My hair is standing on end.
Come on, man.
So.
I think I'm the last. I'm the collab when all the other collabs are done. Probably. I'm too boring for the. I'm like I don't know. The Thorpes and I just have different like. I like watching them. I don't think they like my content. You know what I mean?
Strange. It's dissipated. Yeah.
Did anybody else see on Hormaxer's stream the other night before it got deleted that when Ben was on and Hormaxer was like, "Hey Ben, you ever see this Mark Fusion? He watches 80s content."
After all the activity of the evening, calmed down. There it was.
Families who live in a home like this may experience, because of the place they're at in their lives, may experience events.
Hey Joe, and whenever that cop told Grace to take a few steps back, and like Grace, you could tell Grace was seriously considering just saying no, but then she's like, "Well, it's my storage unit and I own it and whatever," but eventually backed up a little bit.
That have happened.
And like the camera angle's perfect too, because it's looking at the cop, but then like Courtney's way back in the background, like watching to see what happens.
In the past, in this house, in a house like this, there seems to be something that we call place memories. It's not only brains and minds that hold memories, but places also hold memories.
We raised the children that monsters weren't real, and there wasn't ghosts and boogeymen.
What a group, man.
And we raised them to be really secure in that. And when this happened, and when it all came about, suddenly the whole belief system and what we taught our children was turned upside down and shook. And they looked at us, and it was that look of...
Yeah, I had an okay 420. I didn't buy any weed because there weren't any, like... I didn't have any money, to be honest. But there weren't any good sales either. But I did have a good day, though. I played Borderlands, and I watched a bunch of movies. Predominantly, I watched The Jedi yesterday. Rich and Joy were really on the money. What's up, Platinum?
You know, we trusted you.
Despite the work of the parapsychologists, the Kings were finally forced out by the entity. They wanted a safer home for their children.
Forced out? How?
But finances have made it impossible for them to abandon the home they own. They've had to move back.
Joe Rogan.
And no one can predict what awaits them now.
Coming up next, a UFO encounter leaves the witnesses scarred for life.
It's a composite of many UFO cases all rolled into one with very horrifying results.
Uh-oh.
In recent years, there's been a marked increase in the number of people who claim to have had contact with alien beings.
On the Nexium
Some of them tell disturbing stories of abuse and claim to have real physical scars from the close encounters they found terrifying. When it comes to UFO encounters, Hollywood has had a field day. The movies have portrayed aliens as comical spacemen or as benevolent creatures. But the movies we love to laugh at have nothing to do with reality. Reality is a woman named Vicki Landrum.
I'd go to the grocery.
Would I be willing to go to court to provide evidence? I mean, if I'm compelled by the legal system, you know what I mean? But I don't really know what I could do to support their claims.
Grocery store. And people.
Now, if they'd like me to speak as a character witness, absolutely.
Would make fun of me. I'd try to go to church.
Yeah, did you guys see the Pope died? Right after he met J.D. Vance, he was like, I'm out, man. I wonder how Ben and Grace are taking it that the Popes did.
And the pastor asked me not to come.
Vicki Landrum has struggled to convince the government and the public.
I bet you we'll start to see some conspiracy theories, too, depending on who the next Pope is, like what their politics are.
That contact with extraterrestrials has left her scarred and riddled with disease.
No, Joe, shit. The Warren police, or whatever the little thing there is, whoever has jurisdiction at the apartment, they either want you to basically send them your driver's license, or they want you to come there physically in person. I wrote a letter to their Attorney General. I don't know that I'll ever get a response to it, but they want, essentially their police, normally you send a FOIA request, you do not have to provide your name. They send you what you're asking for, or if they say, hey, we'll send you this, this, and this, but we can't send you this and this because of reason XYZ, you're allowed to appeal that. And when you appeal that, you then have to prove that you're a real person and typically just give your name and that's it. But in some states, I guess, they can either just keep pushing you and make you do all the work and then eventually give it to you, or like, I don't know, but they want like a copy of your driver's license, your full name, your home address, all that. They want like all your personal info.
Well, it's not just a light in the sky or somebody thinks they saw something. A real serious case, you know they've seen something. It changes people's lives. They're never the same afterwards if they've had a close encounter or if they've been injured.
Houston, 1980.
They
were driving on a deserted road.
I mean, I don't get to choose the other lawyers, right? I just go up and give my testimony.
Betty Cash, Vicki Landrum, and her 7-year-old grandson, Colby. They claim to have had a UFO encounter that left more than memories burned in the minds of these 3 victims.
I kept screaming for Betty to get back in the car. So finally she come to get back in the car, and when she caught a hold of that handle, it burned her ring into her finger. That car was that hot.
They all had stomach aches, they all had diarrhea, they all vomited, they were all burned, they all developed sores later.
Do you think, though, Daninsky, that the Thorpes would trust me, that they would want me to be a witness for their side? I think South to West, okay. It used to be a thing to where if you wanted to go and speak in any kind of a government public forum, you had to give a lot of your personal information, like literally out loud there. I think most places now you just have to give your name and you don't have to give your address. But to me, even asking for your name or your address or any information really whatsoever from the government is kind of like, what reason could they possibly want to have that information other than to intimidate you or, you know, discourage you from seeking transparency. There's literally no other reason, right? Because even if you live in another state, you can write to another state and FOIA them. There's no need for them to know who you are, where you live. It's just strictly intimidation or to try to get you to just give up and not, you know, not pursue the records.
All lost some hair. Mrs. Cash, most of her hair. Mrs. Landrum less, and the boy even less.
It's on the stand and buries the
But in each case, something happened that is typical of radiation exposure.
My eyes were burned so till they swelled till I couldn't hardly see. I couldn't see how to read or watch TV or do nothing.
Me and OPC's
every time I'd get out in the sun, it'd be big blisters, and I had.
Okay, he's trustworthy to the Thorpes. He's not trustworthy to me. He's a liar. He's lied to me many times.
Sores all over my arms. After this happened to me, well, I couldn't work. I didn't have no friends to talk to. So it just made me like a hermit.
The Cash Landrum case, as I call it, to me is a very significant case because we have a situation where we had a very large flying machine that came over the road that actually left marks on the road, so you know where it was exactly. It left burns on the trees. It left burns on the people. It changed their physiology. It's a composite of many UFO cases all rolled into one with very horrifying results.
While campaigning for the presidency in 1976, Jimmy Carter claimed he had...
We need King TL in here for this. He's got some interesting presidential theories about androids.
Seen a UFO.
It was the darndest thing I've ever seen. It was big. It was very bright. It changed colors, and it was about the size of the moon. One thing's for sure. I'll never make fun of people who say they've seen unidentified objects in the sky. If I become president, I'll make every piece of information this country has about UFO sightings available to the public.
Carter vowed to make all government materials on UFO sightings available to the public. 20 years earlier, Andy Florio, a big band musician, had an encounter with a UFO in Arizona.
Jimmy
and experienced burns similar to Vicki Landrum's. Now, he wants the government to make good on Jimmy Carter's promise.
Jimmy Carter made a commitment to the American people that he would release all UFO secrecy to the American people if he became president, which he did not do. As a citizen, and so...
The issue is these people want they want information that confirms what they think. They can't release all the UFO information because some of it is literally like classified, like national defense. Like a lot of the UFOs, in my opinion, are things that we have made or other countries have made for, like that we're testing and whatever, which kind of speaks to Trump whenever he made a big, well, I mean, it's just a big bluster campaign promise that he was going to reveal everything about the New Jersey drones. And then as soon as he got in, he was just like, oh yeah, we know about them. We know about them. And that was it. Like, so I think he's thinking he's going to get some like holy grail or missing link. And it's just, it's not there. And if it is the Jimmy Carter's, the president's not going to know about it. Only the people at the tip top of the pyramid down at the Bohemian Grove are going to know.
So forth. And as a victim of a UFO, I'm madder than hell. That's all there's to it. My elbows burned me 37 years, man. It's going to burn me the rest of my life.
Guest star on The Simpsons. I think I look like especially, like when I was walking around at the zoo, like everybody was like pretty normally dressed. I looked like somebody that spent a bunch of like premium currency in Grand Theft Auto or Far Cry on their multiplayer character.
I know it. It's burning me now.
There are many secrets in this world kept by various governments and various peoples. In this particular case, if someone would just say what happened, whether it was extraterrestrial or it was a military experiment or what.
Like, and also, we live in an era where the most sensitive, like they broadcast where our military is going to strike over like signal and messaging apps now. If anybody had access to a document or a piece of evidence that proved it, like they would just go big with it because you could just walk into any news place in the world and they're gonna like put you front and center. Like people leak everything. Like it just doesn't make any sense that they wouldn't leak UFO stuff.
whatever, we would all rest easier in knowing that it's something that's known.
Although the government claims no responsibility, an Army colonel was sent to investigate Vicki Landrum's claims.
He questioned me and I answered him, and then he told me that people had died for listening what I was trying to do.
Some investigators suggest that the colonel's subtle threat was linked to helicopters Vicki saw surrounding the UFO.
The helicopters came from different directions. There were groups of them that came in waves. One group came from the southwest, one came in from the east, and they all converged on the same area. Several of the helicopters flew around this object like they were trying to hem it in.
The government wanted to experiment on something, and they taken the lives of people to do it.
Our system is not set up to explain the unexplainable. People all over this country are mysteriously injured, even killed every year.
the hell?
Vicki Landrum believes some of them may have met with deadly alien forces. Because she is seriously ill, Vicki won't be silenced. She speaks out in the hope that others will not suffer her terrible fate.
Coming up next, was this Hawaiian paradise cursed?
We were told, don't scare away the tourists.
Or was it just local superstition?
Oh
The
boy, here
people
we
that
go,
had
Brady
stayed
Bunch.
there saw dead bodies floating in the ocean. They had terrible, terrible odors in their rooms.
In virtually every culture, burial grounds are considered sacred. Some are said to carry a curse for those who dare violate them. Perhaps it was such a curse that struck the Seven Seas Hotel, a hotel built on
Seven
sacred
Seas
ground
Hotel.
in Hawaii. The native peoples of Hawaii respect the awesome power and beauty of nature because they believe that the same forces that created their island paradise can also destroy them. They believe the forces of nature are ruled by the gods. Break their laws, and the gods will retaliate. Hawaiians believe ground that is sacred to the gods must be respected. For that reason, according to local beliefs, the Seven Seas Hotel should never have been built.
Oh, okay.
Native Hawaiian people have a great deal of respect for what Westerners might consider.
We should watch the Nick Johnson series in modern. Now, naturalist, that means he doesn't wear any clothes, right? Bobby Camaro, Hawaiian naturalist.
Or superstitions.
When Hurricane Iwa destroyed the Seven Seas Hotel in 1982, many Hawaiians believed that it was an act of vengeance by angry gods. During construction of the hotel, an ancient Hawaiian burial site was unearthed. Some natives believed the site would be cursed unless it was blessed by a holy man, a kahuna. But developers dismissed the practice as superstition, and construction continued.
In Hawaii, there are just certain things that you have to do. When you build something, you have to have the land blessed, and according to all details, this was not blessed. If you're excavating, you uncover bones. They have to be disposed of properly, and apparently they were not disposed of properly here, so they were asking for trouble.
Once the hotel opened, the gods seemed to make their presence known.
The people that had stayed there saw dead bodies floating in the ocean.
Did you guys see Sabu and Fuego del Sol retired yesterday? Or retired over the weekend? What's up? It's me.
They had terrible, terrible odors in their rooms. They had birds attack them in the dining room. A lot of the local people that had originally started to work there experienced many, many eerie things, and a lot of them quit working.
Me, I worked one night. I was night shift, okay?
These eyebrows,
Then
man.
I was cutting my vegetables. Then I don't know from where that thing came, rainbow color, spinning like that against that icebox. So I saw I took that knife and I started cutting the shadow. I said, don't you ever bother me because I don't.
The kahuna needs to bless this lady's eyebrows.
Bother you.
Julie Coe was 14 when she and her mother moved into the hotel in 1977. They stayed for 6 months in room 13.
My mom.
I didn't see the whole match, but I saw there was like Sandman entrance at the show, and then I saw clips of the Sabu Joey Janela match.
I would work late at night, and so I'd be home by myself doing my homework and what all.
Oh, back to
and they
back
just
to
play games
like
with me all night long. The only way I got rid of them, an old local woman told me,
got
she
into
said
the hospitality industry.
She said they absolutely hate swearing. And one night I had just had it. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't read. They were just making too much racket. They were making me very uncomfortable. And I got up on my bed and screamed every four-letter word I could think of in every combination I could think of. And by gosh, if they didn't settle down and leave me alone for the night.
You'd hear it like every other night. The knives hitting the wall, toilets flushing, people walking on the carpet. After a while, you just get used to it.
Speaking of Anand, I didn't look it up to see if it was like, if they did something for the movie, but I watched that Unhinged movie on Netflix with Russell Crowe. Oh my God, man, he looked big, man. I know with like his, I remember like his face always been looking really bloated lately because of the alcoholism, but like, man, he was a big old dude in that movie.
We were told, don't scare away.
Man, he was beating everybody up. He beat up women. He was punching out a kid.
Tourists.
Crazy.
You know, if they hear spooky noises.
That movie is wild, by the way. She wants to pull a Pearl Harbor job. She's just looks. That lady looks just perpetually surprised. I don't know who told her. Like, did the people making this documentary not want to say anything to her about her eyebrows?
Don't tell spooky stories.
I would have mentioned it to
you know,
her.
make an excuse for the toilets, anything.
Seven Seas was a nice hotel, not fabulous, but a nice view. So people came, but they didn't expect the spooks at night.
The hotel was plagued by disturbing events. Then, finally, Hurricane Iwa roared in and destroyed the Seven Seas Hotel. Was it simply the force of nature at work, or was it a deliberate retaliation by spiritual forces who were angered by the desecration of an ancient burial site? Locals believe Hurricane Iwa was the revenge of the gods. On the very same site where the Seven Seas Hotel was destroyed, a new condominium complex has been built. But before construction started this time, the land was blessed by a kahuna.
True.
Since the blessing...
Oh, Daninsky, did you see that? They had a kahuna. Now, think about it. Imagine being the dipshits that built the 7 pyramids, 7 curses hotel, or whatever it was called. All they do is tell you, hey, listen, before you build this, just bring a kahuna down here, right? And they're like, nah, fuck that, man. We're not doing that, and the whole fucking place gets destroyed. And the next guy's like, yeah, I think we'll bring in the kahuna.
There have been no further incidents.
Wow.
Thanks for joining us. For Sightings, I'm Tim White. Good night.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Henry Winkler.
Tomorrow.
Wow. That was a good... I didn't think that... I kind of questioned that episode a little bit.
The theories expressed are...
I wasn't sure how I was going to like that one, but it's pretty good. This is Season 1, Episode 13. This is Evidence from Beyond, Prophets, and are you ready for this? Portals.
Not the only possible interpretation. The viewer is invited to make a judgment based on all available information.
Forehead.
Tonight on Sightings, a grisly murder leaves a parapsychologist dead.
When they discovered the body, there were no clues.
But from beyond the grave, he helped authorities find the killer. Then, if you think the Bermuda Triangle is the world's only deadly vortex, think again.
Now, what you're dealing with is something that's transient. It happens suddenly and it's gone.
We investigate the deadly force that's taken thousands in America's Great Lakes. And what psychic miracle gave this woman the incredible power to accurately predict hundreds of earthquakes?
Earth's track record for quakes that she has reported into me has been 70 or 80%.
At that point, it started to appear.
I mean, wouldn't that be a shitty superpower to have? You can accurately predict earthquakes 80% of the time. Like, I don't think is that high enough to where a government agency would honor your prediction?
Large, dark eyes, claw-like hands.
Dude, I bet Jeannie Wasung's box is a deadly vortex, man. You just get it's like putting your dick into one of those like bank tubes that you put the capsule in, and it's like, that's what it's like getting in that Wasung pussy.
I began sensing and knowing and feeling.
I do believe in life after death. I mean, I've been there.
We have not scratched the surface of what the mind can do.
sense a connection with the unknown.
In 1990, psychic Scott Rogo had a horrifying premonition. He saw a man being murdered. The terrifying vision of death haunted his dreams, and most frightening of all was that the murder victim Scott saw was himself. Tragically, it was a premonition that came true. Scott Rogo was internationally recognized as an expert in the paranormal. He was the author of 30 parapsychology books that ranged in subjects from ghosts to premonitions.
Joe, I just smoke a lot of heavy indicas, and they just kind of lower every wall from around, like, whatever blocks your thoughts just from immediately being conveyed. All of those defenses are fully down after about an hour.
Ironically, Scott's fatal premonition about his own life would come true. On August 16th, 1990, as a peaceful San Fernando Valley, California sleeps, a grisly murder is taking place. World-renowned parapsychologist Scott Rogo is stabbed to death, his throat slashed.
Somebody had come to his house, possibly in the evening, and stabbed Mr. Rogo.
Tragically, Scott's accurate premonition was to be his last.
When they discovered the body, there were no clues. There was the actual murder weapon found with blood, and right by the wall closest to the body, there was some fingerprints and blood.
But that initial evidence did not lead to the killer's identity. Psychics felt the police needed an expert witness, testimony from the dead man himself.
I conducted 2 separate investigations. One was akin to a private investigation. The other was a psychic investigation.
Psychic researcher Betty Bandy asked some of the world's top psychics to try to contact Scott. And what they found would send the investigation in an important new direction. Psychic
Axe wound is more of like an exterior description. Bank tube is more of like an internal description, I think.
Armand Marcotte believes the murder victim told him to check the fingerprints on a glass left at the murder scene.
They both had a drink to calm their nerves after the crime was committed. The darker the man, he went to the bathroom, and he forgot to...
I know, you think you get rid of the last witness, and then there they are being sworn in.
Wipe his glass, and it was left there.
I wrote a detailed report of the information given to me by the psychics, because a very clear picture did emerge from the psychic report.
They went back to the house and did a thorough search of the bathroom. And that's where they found the glass that tied in the present killer that's been convicted and put away since then.
That's how they finally came on the path of...
So the ghost told them to search the crime scene? Is that what I'm understanding?
Mr. Batista. He was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced, I believe it was 15 years to life.
My private belief is that Scott has assisted me in collecting information.
Is it possible that Scott Rogo is trying to conduct his own murder investigation from the grave? How else could you explain the psychic's insistence that police re-examine the fingerprints on the glass? And many believe Rogo is still trying to reach out to them because there are still many unanswered questions about the case. The most troubling, that a second murderer is still at large. Psychics won't give up until that killer is found.
There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that there was a second suspect.
However, at this time, we don't have any idea of who it may be. We don't know race.
Man, I don't know why, but I just imagined that cop they just showed interviewing Fred Flintstone. I don't know. I don't know why I thought about it, but now I'm like, my brain is fascinated by like, what questions would this detective ask a caveman?
Age, we have no other information of this person.
The fingerprint and blood did not match Mr. Batista, the defendant, nor Mr. Rogo.
With police at a virtual standstill, we ask psychic detective Nick Nocerino to examine the murder of Scott Rogo.
Come on. That's a Twitch streamer.
You seem to be interested in Scott Rogo, and he is the person we want to tune into, and we want to find out what happened, and if possible, give you as much information as we can.
Nick Nocerino has been a respected psychic investigator for 47 years. He begins at...
Nick Nocerino. You guys are going to have a hard time believing. You're going to think I'm joking because it's kind of a humorous thing, but Nick Nocerino actually is able to solve crimes because he can smell dead people.
Typical murder investigation by visiting the last place the victim was seen alive.
Every time I mention his name, I get lots of pain, sharp pain. I don't know whether he's having a heart attack or what's going on.
Nick's investigation also takes him to several locations frequented by Scott in the days just before his murder. Nick believes this method of investigation will stir up the tremendous psychic energy necessary to make contact with Scott Rogo. He then brings in a team of psychics to investigate the single most important location in the case, the very house in which Scott Rogo was found stabbed to death.
We hope to find out how the man died, if possible who killed him or how many people killed him, and then connected with the killing. There's been a killing here.
Boy, can you imagine doing this shit?
Each psychic surveys the house, attempting to gather psychic energy.
Right around my throat is tightening up immediately.
Oh my God.
And then it's moving down into my chest area.
I mean, these are grown people that are just moving around this room, groping the walls. Like, they're just pretending. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Besides the stabbing, there was an attempt to choke him. I heard gagging.
There were 3 individuals besides the man who was hurt and blood all around.
This is definitely a house that has had a lot of energy and it still is filled with different energy. There's a lot of anger associated with that too, and it's a frenetic kind of energy.
This was not a happy
The psychics
murder.
then agree to break off into 2 separate groups in 2 separate rooms to form seance-like triads.
And I call upon the energy of Scott Rogo to assist us in any way he can.
There's 3 people involved. 2 came in one car, 1 came in another car. They got in the house.
There were 2 people performing the majority of the violence.
In 2 separate rooms, at almost the same time, the psychics believe they have made contact with Scott Rogo, who is now conducting his own murder investigation from beyond the grave.
Well,
their intent when they entered this home was not to kill him.
He's screaming. I can't hear what he's screaming, but I can hear him screaming.
Things just got out of hand.
One of them short.
5'6", 5'7", overweight.
Kind of long, wavy, black hair, maybe a little balding on the top.
He may be the one who has the tattoo on his arm.
Scar. It's a mark on his face.
Right below his eye.
Tiny little mustache.
See a car parked.
Short, tiny little mustache.
Bandana on the head, not a hairnet.
VWY.
Bushy eyebrows.
436.
Romano's
Bushy eyebrows.
Jesus.
Jason, James, Alexander, all those names fit the big one.
They're within 100 miles of here.
Oh, these are the names of the other guys.
According to the psychic team, this is the killer of Scott Rogo. Both triads, independent of each other, provided the same description.
The man was about 5'6", 5'7", round of face, Hispanic, tiny little mustache, black oily wavy hair with a bandana, long police record. He was the one perpetrating most of the violence.
This is the man the psychics believe killed Scott Rogo. He is Hispanic, about 5'7" tall, 160 pounds in weight, and still living, they believe, in the Southern California area. The sketch and description have been handed over to police for further investigation.
Why don't we make it, Daninsky? That's a perfect project for Fusion Studios. The what's his name? Scott Rogo story.
The product, psychics believe, of Scott Rogo's ghostly communication about the face behind the bloody handprint.
Kevin can play one of the psychics that goes around groping the walls.
His presence to me was still very strong in that house, and hoping that somebody will uncover some aspect of the crime.
Police policy prohibits comment on this unsolved case, but we will follow their developments and hope to bring you an update of the Scott Rogo case in the near future.
Coming up, the Bermuda Triangle has nothing on...
You know what I like, too, is that when they say that, some shows are just saying it like as lip service, but we've actually, even this early on in the first season, they've gone back and revisited earlier episodes to give, like, updates. So I'm confident we'll learn more about Rogo.
These lakes.
Now, what you're dealing with is something that's transient. It happens suddenly, and it's gone.
We investigate the deadly force that haunts America's Great Lakes.
The Bermuda Triangle may be the most famous vortex of mystery and death in the world,
mysterious Latino
but it's not the only one. The Great Lakes Triangle, right here in the United States, has been almost as deadly. Hundreds of people have vanished in an area which many believe is a...
I honestly thought they were about to say, like, and then we took this to the police, and they were like, oh yeah, that's so-and-so, and then they arrested him. Like, the whole point was that he was conducting a case from beyond the grave, but he didn't get, nothing happened.
Gateway to oblivion. There is a force that has survived from folklore to scientific fact. Bizarre anomalies that rival the Bermuda Triangle. A ship, the Edmund Fitzgerald, built to withstand the most violent weather, sinks in less than a minute. A modern jet airliner crashes into Lake Michigan in clear weather. These are only two of the thousands of shipwrecks.
Perfect, Joe. That means we can put a lot of speculation into the film.
And plane crashes that have plagued the Great Lakes since earliest recorded history. The most dangerous zone is known as the Marsburg Vortex in Lake Ontario, but disappearances routinely occur throughout a larger area known as the Great Lakes Triangle. Marine insurance records show that more than 15,000 shipwrecks, plane crashes, and other mysterious catastrophes over the past 200 years have given the Great Lakes Triangle a deadly reputation, with the highest concentration of unexplained accidents in the world.
With Marysburg, what you get is exactly the same type of things. You're getting down in around the...
Hey, Joe, do you think that the reason that the charges got dismissed against the Latino killer was because they found Scott Rogo to be an unreliable witness from beyond the grave?
Bermuda Triangle.
They just didn't find him to be credible.
Triangle, disappearing people, disappearing ships, and that.
We have found that there is at least one major link between all these crashes and disappearances. The ever-present magnetic fields which wrap the Earth appear to act differently in the Great Lakes Triangle. A compass reading on one day can be totally different the next, making critical navigational systems inoperative.
We found, even using 3 separate compasses, all the readings being very much similar, that when we plotted that on a chart, we were nowhere near. One case, we were a quarter mile on shore, and yet we're 5 miles physically on the boat offshore.
Peculiar magnetic forces can spell disaster for a ship or a plane that relies on exact instrument readings. Could strange magnetic forces in the Great Lakes Triangle be enough to throw ships and planes wildly off course and into fatal situations? Some believe that's exactly what caused the 729-foot Edmund Fitzgerald to sink to the bottom of Lake Superior. This state-of-the-art vessel had 2 independent radar systems thought to be infallible, but they weren't. En route to Cleveland, Ohio, disaster struck. November 10th, 1975, 5 p.m. The Edmund Fitzgerald is fully loaded with iron ore and leaves port. By 6 p.m., the ship is unexpectedly caught in the grips of a severe winter storm. Just after 7 p.m., the Edmund Fitzgerald, a highly sophisticated modern freighter, has disappeared, with all hands feared lost. The weather was harsh, but the Edmund Fitzgerald was designed to withstand storms like this. The beginning of the end occurred when not one, but both radar systems failed. With low visibility and no working navigational system, the ship was doomed.
I do know that they had lost their radar, which was a ship nearby in the storm. The Anderson was doing their seeing for them.
He kind of looks like if Christopher Daniels had hair.
It was trying to get the fix on the Fitzgerald with radar and then radio to the Fitz and tell them where they were. 1 minute, they had a blip on the radar, and the next minute, the blip was gone.
They were in communication with the Fitzgerald at 10 minutes after 7. At 20 minutes after 7, they had no sight of her at all. And given that 10-minute span and the fact that no distress call was ever sent by the Fitzgerald, that ship going down must have happened no more than a minute. It just dove, went down, and that was the end of it.
So I understand you had him visually and on the radar, and you lost him in both respects. No, I didn't have him visually. I had him on the radar. He was exactly 10 miles ahead of us. I asked him how he was making out with his problem. He said he lost those vents, and he had a lift, and he said he was holding his own. I lost contact after that.
In less than 1 minute, the enormous ship had disappeared. All hands on board died. It was a tragic testimony to the power of a deadly force still feared by all who dare venture there.
I think in a lot of people's mind, there is something missing. There's one little fact
It's like Will Ferrell in one of a Wes Anderson movie where they're like exploring the Great Lakes Triangle.
Or something that went wrong, or something that happened that maybe we'll never know about. Something mysterious.
Look how serious he is.
Something unexplained.
United Flight 389, inbound from New York to Chicago in 1965. Although flying in clear skies and calm weather, it would suffer the same fate as the Edmund Fitzgerald.
The approach was over Lake Michigan. The last altitude that they were cleared to, in which he was supposed to have leveled off and maintained that altitude.
Do you think Scott Drogo is related to Khal Drogo from Game of Thrones?
Until cleared lower was 6,000 feet.
But Flight 389 did not level off at 6,000 feet.
The aircraft struck the water in a descending attitude. It spread over about 1.6 miles, and it sank in about 250 feet of water. We know there was no mid-air collision. We know there was no structural failure. We know the engines were operating properly.
This guy's reliable.
Everything appeared to be normal up until the aircraft disappeared.
Unpredictable magnetic energies that ripple through the entire 100,000 square mile.
Oh, thank you, Armand. I get quite a bit of positive attention. Joy was putting me over yesterday. I hope the ship's crew didn't really die, but instead were stranded in wacky Gilligan's Island type situations.
Area of the Great Lakes may explain what happened.
Now, what you're dealing with is something that's transient. It happens suddenly, and it's gone. You haven't got any actual scientific...
Well, what happened was they almost figured out how to get rescued. They were like one step away, but then the only guy who knew how to get the radio working again got hit on the head by a coconut.
Measurements. What we know is that there's actually magnetic anomalies in the area. How they could cause these mysterious disappearances, how they could cause the sinking, no one seems to know.
Magnetic forces that can kill. Do they exist in the Great Lakes Triangle?
Magnetic
Researchers
forces
continue to
that
study
can
the
kill.
bizarre quirk of nature that has taken so many lives. In the past year alone, nearly 35 boats and planes have vanished without a trace.
We may
Coming
never
up,
know
what
why this ship sank in a terrible storm when all of its instruments failed.
This woman, the psychic power to accurately predict earthquakes.
I
What's
just
up,
sat
Rush
there and
Limbaugh?
cried because I knew people were going to die. And I spent the next 6 hours on the telephone trying to warn people that a
Hey, Rush Limbaugh, you know who I saw in the comments the other day was Dr. Backslash. You remember him? Mean magnets with an intent to kill. Oh my gosh.
major quake was going to hit Mexico.
People who
I can't get over those people walking around like, oh, I think I can feel something. I think I can feel a spirit. I just feel like such a grifter.
Then near death report many kinds of paranormal experience. After a miraculous recovery, a very special few claim to have new, unexplainable psychic powers. Powers they believe were bestowed upon them.
Next time I do an IRL at like a historic house or something, I'm gonna ask him if I can spiritually grope the walls.
Through a controversial phenomenon known as soul exchange.
Oh, here we go.
The soul that is in the body leaves. Another totally different soul comes in.
The idea of an exchange was explained.
Now, I believe this. I believe in this because that's what had to have happened to at least two people. Steven Seagal, this had to happen to, right? Remember, he went from like the badass, like Italian guy doing action movies to like, he became like that overnight, like this. He gained like a bunch of weight and like started moving glacially slow. And he was like an environmental activist all of a sudden. Like that happened overnight. That's a soul exchange. It has to be a soul exchange. And then if you remember, JT Southern used to be like full of fire and, you know, he was charismatic and had a high energy. And when we're seeing him in 87, he's like a complete shell of himself. Soul transfer. Jerry Lawler was stealing the souls of upcoming wrestlers to keep himself on top and to keep himself youthful. But when the territory systems died, that's when he had to start aging because he no longer had access to these, you know, he was no longer could hide his crimes.
to her. If she really wanted to die, that would be fine, but why should she die? Because it was a
Kahuna,
perfectly
absolutely.
good body.
Total of 13 separate sounds that I hear all the time. When the sound changed, an earthquake would happen within 72 hours.
I think they are tuning into another dimension of experience that is normally closed off to us.
The concept is known as soul exchange, or as the walk-in phenomenon. In a soul exchange, one soul leaves the physical body and a new soul walks in.
Well, a walk-in is a highly developed soul from previous lifetimes who has earned the right, if he wants to come into an adult body to complete a project that he would like to do.
The walk-in, or soul exchange, occurs at a time of personal crisis. Individuals recount feelings of severe physical or emotional pain, even a death wish. After the transformation, they experience profound changes in their lives.
I took all the pills in the bottle and drank some of the alcohol.
The headache was so bad that my insides ached.
All I said was, I want out. I want the pain to stop.
The purpose of a soul exchange is always to have a being come into a body that is more highly evolved and is coming here for the purpose of helping the earth evolve.
For a precious few, the supposed soul exchange triggers miraculous, new, and unexplainable.
I watch pretty much all the Steven Seagal movies still, and all of them have the same story now. They're like a lifetime. They have like a lifetime formula where he's someone who used to be a badass, like he used to be in the mob or special forces or black ops, whatever, bounty hunter. But now he's given all that up for a life of peace. Sometimes he writes poetry. Sometimes he does pottery. Sometimes he practices acupuncture. He always has some kind of little thing that he does that's like shows you that he's spiritually enlightened. And then he just like eventually has to go back to his old ways, and then he very slowly beats people up, and then the movie ends. That's it.
Talents. Charlotte King's experience has been remarkable.
In December
Russian
of
is probably
76, I
accurate.
overdosed on a combination of Valium and brandy. But fortunately, I guess I didn't take enough to give me a fatal overdose.
What's
but I
up,
was in a real
Amber?
bad state for quite a few hours. And I heard the word that the doctor had...
Yeah, ATF media, he'll be like, the mafia will be like, oh no, even we can't cross the line to go after him.
admitted me and that I would have to stay there. And I was in kind of a drugged sleep, very drugged.
The last few that I've seen, I saw one where literally he did all of his fight scenes sitting down. I think I tried to keep track at the time, but it was pretty bad. Like Bruce Willis fell off, but that's because he was dealing with severe cognitive issues. I don't think that's true for Steven Seagal. I just think he's lazy.
I'd sleep, and a few hours later, I all of a sudden became...
He doesn't so much anymore because the rappers are so much more popular than him, but he did for a while. Yes, he was in a ton of he made him with DMX, Ja Rule, I think. I think I put one in my queue, and I can't remember what it was, but it was another one, yeah. And what was the one? I'll think of it. There's one particular. Oh, god damn it! I think it was Seagal and DMX. I think it might have been their first one. That one was actually pretty fun.
Real full of energy, just a burst of energy.
Reacting to boycott.
Charlotte believes she left the hospital.
Did I cry? No, I don't care about the Pope. I'm not Catholic. I didn't see the Mad TV parody, but I like anything that's a parody of Steven Seagal. Hey, Pomp Flare. I don't know if he lives in Russia, but he's like a confidant of Vladimir Putin, and a lot of the movies that he's in are either shot over there, or they have they're heavily involved Russian storylines and Russian mafia a lot recently.
Literally a new person. One with an uncanny talent to predict violent seismic activity around the world.
Yeah, Platinum, that's pretty, movies are that's what I've spent the vast majority of my time in my life doing, is watching movies. And I've seen most of the ones that I'm reviewing now, unless they're newer, I've seen them before, but I haven't seen them for so long, I couldn't remember how much I liked them.
She began to hear sounds no one else could hear. and had nearly unbearable pains throughout her
Makes
body.
fun of Steven Seagal movies.
In the way that I predict the earthquakes, the way that I forecast the earthquakes, is through the sound, and the combination of sound and pain tells me where the earthquake will take place.
I go through like phases where like I'll kind of follow one actor for a while. Like right now I'm doing pretty much like Van Damme and Steven Seagal. But like eventually I'll like just burn through like 30 Eric Roberts movies in no time. Which, by the way, his what's the one with Eric Roberts? It's on Lifetime. It's like it's some kind of evil doctor or something like that. That's like one of the best Lifetime series. It's absolutely unhinged.
But her newfound talent was emotionally painful. In 1985, she
Old
sensed
Soviet
a quake
movies?
in
I'm
Mexico
open
City,
to that.
but no one would listen.
I was working at a computer company in Sacramento in 1985 in September, and I began having headaches. And I went to my boss, Paul, and I said, Paul, I've got to go home. He said, why? I said, there's
Just watch Major League. I love Major League. He renounced his citizenship? Wow.
going to be a major earthquake. And he said,
We should watch his oh shit, who owns that? A&E maybe? We might be able, if we can find like a version taped off TV, we might be able to watch that show where he was on like he was like a honorary sheriff's department or sheriff's deputy.
where? And I said, Mexico. And he said, there better be. And I went home. And I spent the next 6 hours on the telephone trying to warn people that a major quake was going to hit Mexico. Nobody was interested. Nobody cared. And I just sat there and cried because I knew people were going to die, and there was nothing I could do about it.
As the sounds and pain persisted, Charlotte got in touch with Christopher Dodge at the Library of Congress. He began tracking her predictions as part of Project Migraine.
It was absolutely understood from the very beginning that Charlotte must call me up before the earthquake, and that it must be recorded and it must be witnessed. And of course, I felt sure that those restrictions would thoroughly discourage her from undertaking to do something like that. In fact, I was hoping that it would, but it didn't. And in rapid sequence, she proceeded to predict major events.
I called Chris on the phone and said, Chris, all hell's going to break loose. I said,
Oh, really, Pomfler? That sounds great. I'll have to look that one up.
Mount St. Helens is going to have a major change within 72 hours. And he picked up the phone and called the Volcano Center, and they said, absolutely not, there's no activity. And the next day, Mount St. Helens went on eruption alert. And it blew a few days later in April.
Over time, I would say that her track record for quakes that she has reported into me has been between 7 and 8 on a scale of 10, or in other words, 70 or 80%. And in some cases, with Mount St. Helens, I'd say that she has been 100% accurate.
Charlotte predicted the recent earthquakes in Southern California and now believes the big one is coming.
I think there's a real possibility that there's going to be a lot more activity down there. There's just a whole different feeling to this series of earthquakes, both in Northern and Southern California, that have been occurring since April the 23rd.
Charlotte
I think that movie might be Fatal Desire. I'll have to see if I can find it.
believes
What happened?
her amazing predictions are due to a soul exchange. Skeptics doubt that soul exchange exists, but Charlotte's 70% accuracy rate is testimony to the transformation in her life. Thanks for joining us. For Sightings,
Oh,
I'm
hey,
Tim
did you
White.
guys see?
Good night.
Did you guys see that Sunny lost another lawsuit? Sunny, the hottest wrestling chick of all time, she lost another lawsuit. So she lost a $5 million civil suit, which pretty much means that like if she is ever able to get out, like she'll never really be able to leverage her name and shit like that.
Night.
Poor
On the
Sunny.
next Sightings, has science learned how to beat death with the latest technology in cryogenics? And would you be willing to be frozen to death to extend your life? Plus, an entire town that claims...
Oh man. Have you guys ever read I think it's a couple years old. There's a great article on whatever happened to the people the early adopters of cryonics, and holy shit, it's like depressing.
...to be reincarnated, all on the next Sightings.
Yeah, yeah, that's absolutely true.
Tomorrow
What's
on the
up, Dave
season
Chan?
premiere of Code 3. Be there when
Man, she is so hot though.
a
for real.
daredevil stunt
The following program deals...
It was wild seeing her, like, I remember she did, like, the soft core stuff back in the day with Missy Hyatt and stuff, but I was kind of surprised that she did a porno so late in life.
With controversial subjects. The theories expressed are not
That's
the only
debatable.
possible
Well,
interpretation.
I'm saying, like,
The
for
viewer...
me, everybody's going to have their own. Like, Sunny, to me, is the ultimate, like, wrestling girl.
...is invited to make a judgment based on all available information. Tonight on Sightings.
Ananje, she should get into Boyd streaming. Okay, well, I think she's, what, 50 now? So I think she'll be like 67 when she gets out. She gets 17 years. She might get a few off for, like, good behavior, though. She did an OnlyFans.
Science discovered the secret of cryonics?
Yes, JF, it was so depressing. They said it was just like sludge. And I'm just like, oh my God. What if, I know it doesn't really matter, but still, it's just kind of like sludge.
And would you be willing to be frozen to death to extend your life?
If it really can be done, I'm looking at immortality.
And speaking of immortality, does the dead victim of an electrocution still haunt this house?
Something got a hold of my hair and lifted me up.
Our cameras captured evidence that even we can't explain.
Light in the kitchen's going on and off.
And an entire town that believes they've shared past lives together.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter, but at the same time, like, you know what I mean? Doesn't matter to them. A Mae Young simp, absolutely.
My name is Millie Sproul now, and during the Civil War, it was Honey.
At that point, it started to appear.
They had large, dark eyes.
Yeah, if you could afford it. Whew. It's just a reminder that, like, even rich people who can afford to do crazy rich stuff, like, eventually just, like, their family stops caring and everybody stops caring, and eventually the lab technician is just like, you know, hey, I'm gonna leave work early today, or I'm gonna ignore this light or whatever, and then, you know, then you're sludge.
While I can,
Sweet
I began
Sapphire.
sensing and knowing and feeling.
I do believe in life after death. I've been there.
We have not scratched the surface
Stacy
of what the mind
Keebler
is.
definitely way up there.
It's a connection with the unknown.
Is it possible to cheat death? Can we be brought back to life months, even years after dying? There are scientists who are...
Can you imagine Mr. Stinky Brew pushing Stacy Keebler's legs back? They're like those fucking huge giraffe legs. Oh my God.
betting on the fact that one day death won't be permanent. And some people are taking the biggest gamble of their lives. They're being frozen and mummified in a quest for
Man, my
immortality.
anxiety's already way up on this one.
In January 1985, a severe blizzard hit Milwaukee, Wisconsin. At the height of the storm, 2-year-old Michael Track wandered outside his home. Within minutes, he was frozen solid.
Shattered.
But miraculously, he was brought back to life.
He was...
Oh, I agree, JF. I think if you have the money and you like it, you at least somewhat believe in it, then like you'd be, yeah, why not? But man, I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. For some reason, when I was reading that article, it just gave me like terrible anxiety. It makes me feel very mortal to hear about like all these like long-term things that you think are going to happen like in the future, and you know what I mean? It's a weird feeling.
Without any question, dead at the scene, and he was dead for a period of time here as well. But knowing that because of how cold he was, knowing that you're not dead until you're warm and dead, we knew that we had to give him the chance that he deserved.
Michael's complete recovery astonished his doctors, and he is now living proof that a frozen human was indeed brought back to life. It's an exciting possibility for science. The resuscitation of a frozen person has inspired some scientists to try to take the process one step further. Cryonics is the extremely controversial science of freezing a person's body, or just the head, immediately after medical death. The hope is that someday they can be unfrozen and brought back to life.
Cryonics is an experimental process. Somehow my YouTube money gets to the point to where I can have myself frozen, like 300 years in the future, like the chamber dethaws and the door slowly slides back and they hook in all the like nutrient tubes and it brings me back and I'm just like, did Kevin ever come back?
It's experimental because we don't know what the ultimate outcome is going to be. We have a different opinion about where you draw the line between life and death. I don't think you can get dead people back to life. That's impossible. They're dead. How could you? I don't think that these people necessarily are dead.
Once a cryonics patient is declared legally dead, the body is connected to life support systems. Cryoprotective drugs are administered to minimize damage from the freezing process.
Hey, TJ.
It takes 3 to 5 days to gradually freeze a body.
And what you're seeing is the inside of a cryogenic dewar. And those are aluminum pods down there which contain our patients. The patient is inside the pod wrapped in a sleeping bag. Right now there's only 2 ways of putting people into cryonic suspension.
Oh, this is so weird.
Either
so
their whole
creepy.
bodies can be suspended like these people down here. Some people choose only to have their brains put into cryonic.
I will give him credit, okay? After a successful, certainly a successful television career, and he was in a few movies, Bronson Pinchot becoming involved in cryonics, you know, getting involved in science is you know, that's admirable, I think.
Suspension. Right now, our methods of suspension are so crude, none of these people will be recovered unless we can fix them one cell at a time. If you can do that, then it's a very small little bit extra to ask that you take any one of the millions of cells that has the entire DNA, which is a blueprint for your entire body, and just grow a new one around the existing brain.
Is cryonics science or science fiction? To date, 3 companies worldwide have frozen 40 people from all walks of life, and 600 more have signed up. But the medical community is universal in its condemnation of the process.
I think it's misleading to people. I think that it's giving some false hopes. Again, at least at this point.
I love the perfect.
It's a rational gamble.
Oh man, what a classic.
Because what they're doing is committing a relatively small amount of resources to the problem. And it's a personal issue. How much is your life worth gambling on? I mean, if this pays off.
Balky, did you remember to restock the ice on the freezers tonight? Of course, cousin Larry. Don't be ridiculous.
And you end up with an indefinite lifespan in a
yeah,
world filled
George
with all
Clooney
kinds of
really
possibilities we can hardly imagine now. What's it worth to you?
Bring me back. I don't care how. Bring me back into the future. I want to be there. I want to witness this. I want to be able to get out of this freezing suspension or whatever they put me into to get me back. I want to be able to stand there and say, Bill, you made it. You're really here in the future. The most important thing is that if they can do that, if it really can be done, I'm looking at immortality.
You don't ever have to die. You're not dead when you come out of the tank. You're not coming back from the dead. You're simply been put in suspension,
I didn't watch
waiting for science to catch.
For some reason, I forgot that Peacock. I thought everything was on Netflix now, and it's only Raw, at least where I'm at in America. So I couldn't watch it.
Catch up with us is based.
I was so high though, and I was watching. I watched movies, and then I really got locked into Love on the Spectrum again.
Basically, all we're doing.
I don't want to go out with a bang. I don't want to go out with a whimper. I want to go out with a strategy. In case of death.
I remember the Ted Williams story, and then I remember there was a mishap, but I don't really remember many details about the mishap. But I remember it was a big deal, like that, you know, that he was getting frozen. I just watched all the Perfect Strangers. I even did a review of it. I did like a full start to finish rewatch. I'd never actually seen the last episodes before.
Death, see reverse for biostasis protocol. Push 50,000 U heparin IV and do CPR while cooling with ice to 10 Celsius.
Those who wish to be frozen upon death wear special identification tags, which give explicit instructions about how to freeze the body and who to contact.
Well, let's say it doesn't work, okay? So you lose some money, you lose your life, you're frozen, that's that. But if it does work, well, then you get to live and everybody rots in the ground except you.
Clearly, there's no guarantees.
Good sales pitch.
It's your only shot.
Is immortality really within our grasp? While cryonicists seek answers through futuristic high technology, others try to...
Well, the issue is, will it get figured out? But the real question maybe is going to be who figures it out first. Is it going to be somebody who, like, is going to want to share the, is it going to be something that's actually... Like, even when they get it, how long is it going to take before it's, like, a tech that's available to, like, regular people?
Cheat death are looking to the past, to an ancient Egyptian process called mummification.
Impermanent
Should freeze me next to rugged Ronnie Garvin.
body preservation or mummification, the cells are perfectly
Me and Hands of Stone will go in together to support each other in the future.
preserved. Possibly, science may sometime in the future be able to duplicate that genetic message, reduplicate
He's the founder of Summon. I'm going to be the founder of Come On.
a body.
Mummification is the only process that is
Gerald
a permanent
Briscoe.
process of preservation. The mummification process, the first step is basically to remove the organs from the body which has been embalmed. Then everything is placed in the vat with the body and it is soaked. This is the preservative, the active preservative. All the organs are coated with polyurethane. The cavity has been coated with polyurethane. Everything is returned to the body, and then the body is closed. A lot of people really feel basically that they don't want the body to go through what is referred to as the corruption, the decomposition of the body. They want the body to stay intact.
Mummification and cryonics raise profound questions about what might happen to these bodies in the future. Will we ever reach a point where these preserved bodies can live again? Or is reanimating a corpse just another horror movie plot? Some scientists believe it is the new reality of future generations.
Coming up, does the dead victim of an electrocution still haunt this house? Our cameras captured evidence
Thank God
that
we have a
even we
lighter
can't
story.
explain.
The light in the kitchen's going on and off.
Me and Lance Russell. Boy,
Ghosts.
I guess.
Many parapsychologists believe that they're collections of electrical energy, and conventional
They thaw him out, and he's like, whale of a frozen hibernation.
scientists agree electromagnetism is all around us. But paranormal researchers...
I don't know. I feel already like, as you get older, I feel like it's easy to feel like detached from the world, because like all the shit starts to like drift into the past, and it's like all new, all new shit made for like, different generations. But I wonder how bad or how big that jump would feel if you just went, like, you just bypassed like multiple generations and you were just in a world where like there was no even nostalgia for the times that you were around. That to me could be like a positive thing, because you'd be like kind of just starting 100% over.
Take it one extraordinary step further. They believe electromagnetism has a personality.
But what if you woke up and you were like, oh my God, and they're like, hey, listen, good news is you're immortal now. Bad news is there are only PG movies and professional wrestling is outlawed.
That it can be
Twilight Zone.
The outward manifestation of a tortured soul in limbo. On July 28, 1974.
He's like, boy, whale of a show today, huh, Mark? And they turn the microphone over and he's holding it next to a pile of sludge on the floor.
Larry Richard Roach, an unemployed electrician, ended his own life with one rifle blast to the chest. Before his suicide, Larry Roach had been severely injured on the job. Electric
Larry
shock
Roach,
had left
these
him
names.
physically and mentally disabled. He had seizures, was emotionally unstable, and when his wife left him, Larry Roach became despondent and took his own life. Today, near Dallas,
Dave
Texas,
Brown,
in this
getting
quiet
drunk
neighborhood,
forever.
a new family lives in the house where Larry Roach committed suicide. It was supposed to be the Lamonis family's dream house. They finally had a backyard for the children and plenty of room. But their happiness has been
Oh, look at that
short-lived.
little guy.
They believe something is trying to force them out.
3 weeks after we moved in,
Pat Lamoni.
strange things started to happen.
I just call her
I had
Pam
walked from the
Lemons.
dining room into the kitchen,
Oh, look at this
and about
lady.
then, something got a hold of my hair
Betty Lamaster.
and lifted me up, And I started hollering, Pam, Pam, help me. And she turned around and looked, and she said I was just like a haze all over me, like a glow, like I had lit up.
Most of the disturbances in the house seem to be related to strange electrical...
Ghost in the Machine. I need to look that. I need to remember. Let me screenshot that one. I'm going to get that one. I need to revisit that. I don't think I ever did a video review for Ghost in the Machine.
...energy that had an almost human form. It affected appliances, the telephone, the lights. The phone answering machine played back messages spontaneously.
I would be okay. I feel like me and Savvy Guy could navigate the future together.
You've reached 642. You've reached 642.
Then a frightening apparition.
Did you guys ever read the stories or watch any of the old like B movies that they made about that the idea that the Nazis believed that you could bring people back to life through sexual energy? And I don't really, I mean, you never know the possible, some weird things happen. So I'm like, I don't completely rule it out, but like in a bunch of old B movies, they would always like just present it as gospel that they had a battalion of women who would sleep with recently deceased soldiers to try to bring them back to life. Like, and in some of the movies it actually worked, and then they became like zombie soldiers or whatever. But I always thought that was kind of like a weird idea, like why you would even think of that in the first place.
Apparition appeared in the kitchen.
All at once I just felt like something was in the kitchen. I just felt like something was staring at me. And I turned around and I looked, and I seen laying on the floor like a whole figure of a man's body. I was terrified. So I got up.
Cody Turbo, that annoying up,
and when I did, it just vanished away like it went up into the air in smoke, up into the kitchen light.
And the terror only worsened.
It started getting worse and worse in the house. It got to where I was scared to stay here.
Late at night, eerie footsteps would echo throughout the house. The apparition paced outside the bedroom doors. Then the activity in the house took a sinister...
There's always people who get mad when I review the movies that are in the Nazi exploitation genre, but like it's an entire genre of movies. They're not made like as promotional tools. I mean, most of the time they make them look like a bunch of bumbling idiots, but like just reviewing like a Nazi themed movie like upsets a lot of people. But some of them are just so bizarre. Like that I think it's called Love Camp 7. That review is still like almost constantly in like my top 10 for views like every week.
Turn. Did the apparition want the family dead?
I came home one afternoon and the gas stove had been turned on and Joe was asleep on the sofa. I came in, smelled the gas at the front door, left the front door open because you could not even walk in, and it really scared me.
After this incident, Pam started to ask neighbors about the history of the house.
I told Pam something has happened in this kitchen.
Oh, really? It's me? I'll have to check that out. I keep remembering that. It's like American Dream Vlogs 2.0. Is that right? Something
and she said, well, Mother, I think you're right. So she went to investigating with her neighbors, and they did explain to her that a man had committed suicide in the kitchen.
See if they show her shirt again, is American History X considered Nazi exploitation? No, I don't think, no, because I mean, it has a pretty clear, like, it's like has redeeming social qualities. The movies I'm talking about are just pure filth. They're just like trash B movies. So, but for some reason, people act like you can't watch a movie like that if it happens to like take place in like a, you know, they're not in like concentration camps. They're in like, you know, Nazi labs and like Nazi castles and shit like that.
The Lamonises wondered if it was Larry Roach's angry, restless spirit that was tormenting their lives. Desperate to find out, Pam contacted psychics Dwana Paul and Carol Williams.
When Pam called me, she was very disturbed. Her voice was shaking. She said, I have...
Yeah, no one would bat an eye if I posted a review of American History X. If I posted a review of like the Gestapo's last orgy, like I would probably get like a couple like hate comments, or it would end up getting tagged with like some warning from YouTube.
Someone in my house, and it's a ghost.
I did feel cold spots in a few of the rooms, and as we were just sitting there...
Yeah, that's exactly what would happen, Pontflair. They would be like, "Okay, we've perfected time travel, so you can do anything you want to." I'd be like, "I need to go back to 2025 and find out what happens in Memphis." And he's like, "Well, don't you just want to go back to like 1987 Memphis?" I'm like, "No, I've got to be there for the stream."
In the living area, I started feeling the tingling sensation that I feel when a spirit is there.
Just before the 18th anniversary of the suicide, the psychics hold a seance they hope will drive Larry Roach's spirit from the house. Carol, Dwana, and other psychics join together with the Lamonis family.
We've come here tonight
EDP.
to
What's
bring in
EDP?
the spirit of Larry from this house.
Is that like electronic?
And we're
double
going to
penetration?
attempt to send Larry to the light.
Or is that where you hear talk
Understand
to ghosts?
that you committed suicide. You killed yourself.
Eau de parfum.
Pull that trigger.
A rush of energy fills the room. Pam feels something touching her.
Oh, you talking about the lol cow? I don't follow him at all. I don't keep up with him.
My ear. I don't know.
Larry, we know you're here. There's no reason for you.
Yeah, I think people don't really have and again, I think part of it's just like mainstream bias that like if the movie has actors in it that they recognize, if it's a softcore porno movie about like German women trying to fuck dead soldiers back to life, then people start to get like offended by it. They start to get upset.
For you to be in this house any longer. It's time for you to move into the other dimensions of light.
Hold a
You can no
seance
longer
at my
stay
house.
here.
I'll do a
move toward the light.
I'll do a seance stream. We can try to get the spirit of what's his name? D. Scott Rogo.
Light.
Or it's just a room full of beautiful ladies summoning spirits.
A good seance. I could feel it. I could feel it when the chairs were shaking and everything. I knew it was here, but it did not leave, and I don't think it's going to ever leave this house because it kept saying over and over in my.
Yeah, if you mean EDP 445 or whatever, I don't watch him. I don't really watch a lot of like lol cows. I don't watch like the guy that like the diaper guy or Nova, or I watch some Cyrax. I like to watch his musical performances, but I don't like follow the story. They're not really like, they don't really interest me because it's just people trying to make them mad. There's no like narrative or, you know what I mean?
Mind. This is my home. This is my home.
To see if a spirit could be
too much viewer manipulation.
Inhabiting the home, a Sightings camera operator stays at the house, alone.
Okay, there's an awful lot of static electricity in the air right now. It seems to be coming from that tool shed.
We found out later the tool shed was the last place Larry Roach was seen alive.
The dog's barking at something.
Oh, The Craft, Cody Turbo? The Craft is amazing. What a great movie. Really, I think it really holds up, too.
There's nothing there.
Jimmy Savile, wow.
3:30. I just felt something in the air around this area here, in this hall. The flashlight's going out. I don't understand because I just put batteries in it. The light in the kitchen's going on and off, but I'm not touching it. It's 5 a.m. right now. There's a weird smell.
Boss Man Jack.
I don't know what it is. There's a lot of electricity in the air.
I know about Boss Man Jack against my will. There are so many Boss Man Jack videos, and because I watch Grace and Ruby and VP and the Jedi, like it will send me a lot of lolcow stuff, but I don't click on it unless it's something like that seems really crazy. But I get so many Boss Man Jack things. I swear, if I only had to go by what I saw in the thumbnails, I would think this guy was losing millions every day and somehow being like miraculously bailed out. Like, I don't know, like, is he really going through that much money, like gambling? I don't even know. I don't even think I would like to watch that, of just somebody losing money gambling. Like, Rich is different because he just does it to pass the time, but just an entire experience around gambling, I don't know.
More now than before. The warning light on the camera's on. Why are the batteries, Doctor?
Larry Roach seems to have made his presence felt, even to our crew member. And the Lamonises still fear the unearthly phenomena in their home. In the coming weeks, we'll return to Dallas for an update.
This guy's got the right idea. He's like, you know what, bro? You're not pushing me out of my house, bruh. I'm strapped. He was locked and loaded.
Coming up next, an entire town that claims to have shared past lives together.
My name is Millie Sproul. Now, and during the Civil War, it was Honey.
Our investigation uncovers startling evidence of reincarnation.
Uh-oh, stunning evidence.
When Sigmund Freud first introduced his theories about the importance of hypnosis...
Did we watch the Tony Yeoman video about reincarnation on here, where he was concerned about potential reincarnation?
He was laughed at and ridiculed by his colleagues. Since then, hypnotherapy...
He seemed to think that, like, if a friend of yours was pregnant when you died, you would automatically be brought back as their baby. And he said that would be really weird because then you'd be like, you'd know them, but they wouldn't know you. And so he thought that'd be awkward, and he wasn't down with that.
Therapy has gradually gained widespread acceptance. But now, a controversial new type of hypnotherapy is once again asking us to look at our lives in an astounding new way. It's the serious study of past life therapy. Even traditional doctors are starting to wonder if hypnotized patients can really recall that they have lived before in a different body.
I got involved at first with past life therapy as a seemingly spontaneous or accidental thing. I was chairman of psychiatry.
I'm not an elitist, but yeah, there's just the real I don't know how to explain it. It just, to me, there's a gulf between people like the group I mentioned earlier versus like Nova Online and, you know, Tammy Hull, Tony Chase. I don't even consider Tony Chase and Grace Thorpe to even be in the same universe of content creation, even though they do have probably a lot of overlapping circles in viewership.
Very much academically trained and left-brained.
Dr. Brian Weiss is a respected psychiatrist and author of 2 books on past life therapy.
No medical organization has come out really and endorsed this. Oftentimes they'll come up to me and say, I've had this marvelous experience, or my patient has, but don't tell anyone. I get that a lot.
One startling new case has doctors and hypnotherapists re-examining their beliefs. It all started in the small town of Lake Elsinore, California. Here, under hypnosis, more than 30 people all recalled that they had lived and died together more than 100 years ago. Under the guidance of Marge Reeder, a hypnotherapist for 16 years, Maureen Williamson was the first to speak of this shared past life.
There was an incident that happened to me when I was real young, and I was interested in the details. It started initially with a name, and the name I had come up with was John Ashford.
She said, oh, he's my husband. Well, that was not her husband's name. And I said, well, where are we? Well, we're in Millboro.
In Marge Reeder's practice, it's not unusual for someone to recall a past life. But what happened next startled the hypnosis community.
What happened next,
so then
may
she
shock you.
Looked at me and she said, I saw Joe back there. And I said, Joe who? She says, Joe Nazarowski. He owned a security office down here on Main Street.
Joe Nazarowski came to see Marge Reeder and, without prompting, told stories that were strikingly similar.
During the Civil War time, I went to Millboro, and my primary function there was that in the event that the war were to go badly for the Confederacy, to blow up the tunnels so that they could not use those materials against our military.
Marge probed deeper with Maureen, and she recalled that even more people from Lake Elsinore could have had a history in Millboro, Virginia.
And then she said, I saw Millie back there. Barbara Roberts was sitting in the room, and Barbara wrote me a note and said, ask her if I'm there.
I like the background.
And I said, is Barbara Roberts back there in Virginia? She says, yes, she's my mother-in-law. She's John's mother. And from there on out, it just snowballed.
Maureen, who was the first to speak of Millboro, brought her husband in to see Marge. Under hypnosis, he recalled that he had been Maureen's lover in Millboro.
Marge and I have found out, under regressions, is that
Smokey Williamson.
I am still in love with the lady, and I always have been for 130 years.
The Civil War, for example, is a very popular period. A lot of people have been there. I have people finding their own grave sites.
There's a great, is it on the, maybe it's on the, have you watched the Dark Side of the Ring episode about that, Mr. Stinky Brew, about Nick Gage and that match with David Arquette?
They find their names, they know their way around, and they've never been in that area before. So this is extremely possible, probable, and I applaud this research. This is the type of thing that more people should have the courage to do.
Marge Reeder has documented the first case of mass regression in her book, Mission to Millboro.
Oh, my Lord, Confederate portals.
Amazing as these stories are, skeptics argue that Marge was somehow influencing her patients unconsciously. So we decided to go on our own mission to Millboro for evidence of this shared past life.
Confederate portals, boys.
Our first step was to search for a boarding house, which almost everyone had spoken of under regression. And we found it.
My boarding house didn't have that much to do with the Civil War because I had the regular boarders, and I fed a lot of people, and I baked a lot of bread.
Under regression, nearly everyone recalled a graveyard where Maureen, as Becky Ashford, was buried. Just outside of town, we found a family plot.
I had been told by several people Becky's grave is about...
That guy's like, listen, the entire Civil War rested on my back. Had those tunnels had stayed open, while the North would have taken all of our supplies and certainly expedited our loss in the war. And then the woman's like, I baked bread.
A mile and a half outside of town. The graves are untended. The grass is high. Joe told me all along it's in an enclosure. There's a little iron gate fence, and that's just what we found.
Joe Nazarowski recalled that his name in 1861 was Charlie Patterson, a West Point graduate. A trip to the West Point archives uncovered this photograph taken in 1861.
Photograph?
The cadet here is Charlie Patterson of Millboro, Virginia.
Bullshit, that's a photograph. Are you kidding me? In what possible world are we looking at a photograph right now? Who the fuck do these people think they're fooling?
Joe also recalled a tunnel that he was supposed to blow up during the Civil War. We found the tunnel, and even these holes where he could have placed dynamite charges.
So we're going to place the dynamite to make sure that if the Yankees came through, that it would take the tunnel out. They couldn't get the supplies.
Before their regression, none of the people in Lake Elsinore had been to Millboro, but it's possible that they could have seen pictures or heard stories about the area. However, one place we discovered was unknown to even lifetime residents of Millboro, totally unknown to everyone but one of Marge's clients. It was a secret room used to hide slaves. The room was supposedly hidden underground near a church. Marge pinpointed its location using old maps and began to dig.
We're in the middle of downtown Millboro. We have reason to think that there's an underground railroad, hidden tunnel and room down here. And I heard about it just a few months ago from one of the newer girls in my Millboro.
Imagine you're walking your kids at the park. This lady's digging a trench.
Study.
After hours of digging, Marge broke through and found the secret room.
You can see the room very clearly. You can see the green walls, green concrete walls as they were described to me.
The plank ceiling, sod floor, and Civil War-era paraphernalia provided further evidence that this room may have been the secret room revealed under regression. This discovery is an important step forward in the search for proof that the mass regression is more than just the power of suggestion or coincidence.
In my practice as a psychiatrist, doing past life regression work, I focus primarily on therapy, on...
Yeah, I'll like tell some, whatever that individual does, if they're like, yeah, we were, we grow, okra or whatever. I'm like, oh yeah, in a past life, I worked on an okra farm in a past life.
Healing. The other level, which Marge is doing, is extremely important also. It's proof that this is real.
Rebecca De Mornay.
Thanks for joining us. For Sightings, I'm Tim White.
You pulled the bullshit
Good night.
on me at the end there, buddy.
Tomorrow, after an all-new Cops, when his landing gear fails, witness...
The whole Millboro thing, look.
The following program...
Look, if you have portals in the Civil War and you lose, huh? Like, what? How do you lose the Civil War? How do you lose any war if you have portals? It doesn't make sense.
Ram deals with controversial subjects.
Oh, this is season 2, episode 1. Listen to this lineup. Oh, I thought it said mass shootings. Ghosts of Alcatraz, mass sightings, and a UFO update.
The theories expressed are not the only possible interpretation. The viewer is invited to make a judgment based on all available information.
Yeah.
Tonight on Sightings, do deadly apparitions...
in a past life, I was an okra plant. So I'm going to excuse myself before this gets, before this escalates.
Haunt Alcatraz prison.
There are at least 100 ghosts here.
Our investigative team, led by a...
Did you see that guy?
Paranormal expert comes face to face with a frightening entity. Then, since
better
1991, thousands of Mexican citizens have witnessed UFOs and captured them on videotape. What could it mean? Find out tonight.
Man, I'm hyped. UFO update incoming. I'm gonna get some when I go to the store today. I'm gonna get the stuff I need, the like stand and shit to do cooking things. I gotta pick up some. I gotta get a couple different pizzas though to review.
Welcome to Sightings. I'm Tim White. We begin a new series of investigations tonight with a trip to Alcatraz. Since the world's most infamous prison was opened to the public in 1973, some visitors claim to have felt the ghostly presence of long-dead inmates. Well, Park Service officials won't comment, so along with the Sightings investigative team, I went to Alcatraz.
Won't comment.
There's a strange pull you feel viewing this imposing outpost from shore.
Oh,
it was once the
guys.
toughest prison in America, home to Al Capone.
Oh man, I want to go there. I'm not really big on travel, but like, man, I would love to go to Alcatraz. I would love to like be inside of it.
Machine Gun Kelly and the Birdman of Alcatraz. It started in the 1850s as a military fortress defending San Francisco Bay.
We're in the guardhouse, built in 1857. It was intended to be used as a defensive point. There was a gun that would have been mounted here, but it never got used. Instead, this was turned into the first cell block on Alcatraz in 1863.
Insubordinate soldiers were locked away in tiny cells, measuring only 3 by 6 feet. They were beaten, chained to the
I would be the Boit Man of Alcatraz.
Walls and forced to endure hard labor on the rock.
Get better Wi-Fi at Alcatraz than here.
Alcatraz boomed, and by 1909, the cell house that dominates the top of the island had been built.
Oh my God, I remember that Roddy Piper Alcatraz angle. It sucked.
For the incarceration of military prisoners.
It was so bad.
Alcatraz remained a barbaric military.
You did the tour. How was it? Was it worth it?
Prison until the 1930s, when social upheaval reached a peak.
Man, I would have
monsters
thrived in
ruled
this
the
era.
big
Holy
city
shit.
streets. The Justice Department requested that the military surrender the island, and
Hey,
Alcatraz
Robot
was
Glock.
transformed into a maximum security prison, the last stop for America's most hardened criminals. The monsters of society were stored here until 1963, when the prison closed.
Of society.
Alcatraz was opened to the public in 1973 and attracts 4,000 tourists a day. There are reports that Alcatraz is haunted. Could the pain and suffering endured by prisoners at Alcatraz still exist today in the form of ghosts?
When you walk in, it's really dark and it's very cold in there, and I got the chills and I had to leave. I didn't like it at all.
Normally, I don't believe in ghosts, but in a place like that where there have been so many violent deaths and the kind of people that were there, you know, it's quite possible.
I think it's a natural idea that when you come onto the island, you're going to be experiencing something a little special, you know, a little extra. Sounds of a cell door closing, somebody appearing and then disappearing. Those type of things would really send chills up your spine.
Ray Polo,
I'd like to. Oh my gosh, look at this guy! What a modern '90s man. I'd like to go on the Alcatraz tour, but like, not like aggressively argue with the tour guide, but kind of like maybe like 1 out of every 3 things they say, just kind of like either ask them to confirm that you heard them right, but never like I explicitly call them out as wrong, but kind of like heavily hint in front of the other tour people that like this tour guide might not know what they're talking about.
Former Park Service ranger on the...
But then never tell anyone about it at all, so like there was really no purpose to it other than just the idiocy in the moment.
The island claims many ghostly encounters have occurred. But for the past 19 years, the Park Service has refused to talk about reports that Alcatraz is haunted.
The official policy about ghosts on Alcatraz is we would say that, in effect, well, maybe things had happened, maybe they didn't. It's just something that it wasn't officially sanctioned.
Should I try to speak to somebody and get them to reopen the D. Scott Rogo case? I do think we need to get to the bottom of it.
Are there ghosts on Alcatraz? We asked nationally renowned psychic investigator Peter James to spend a night on the rock.
Did I enjoy the 90s? Oh, God, yeah. 90s were great.
I walked with Peter as...
But also, like, I was younger, so I had, like, really for most of the 90s had, like, very little responsibilities. So, like, that definitely colors my memories of the, like, 80s and 90s, because I could be, like, so carefree. If I actually had to, like, you know, if I would have been, like, a grown-up in that time, I don't know.
As he tried to communicate with what he calls entities inside Alcatraz. As we walked through the cell blocks, Peter began to hear what he felt were the voices of tortured spirits.
I was going across, now, admittedly, okay, it was a completely different world back then, but I was going across the, it was post 9/11, but it wasn't too long after that. Well, yeah. Yeah, I guess it would have been a few years after, but I was crossing over from America to Canada with my dad, and the guy came over to the window and was like, do you guys have any, like, drugs in the vehicle? And my dad, I sort of got, he goes, no, like that. And I was like, oh, fuck, we're going to end up having to get cavity searches.
Alcatraz was a place that drove men mad. Military prison.
They're in pain, and I'm in pain, and there's blood here.
They couldn't break out of the prison.
Like a psychic bloodhound, Peter was drawn to out-of-the-way places around the island.
I know little or nothing about Alcatraz other than what I learned here during the past 2 days that I've been here.
Oh, my Lord.
And my feelings are strongly that there is an energy here unlike any other that I've ever experienced.
Peter claimed to have little knowledge of the history of Alcatraz. He said he let the spirits guide him, and they led him here to an area known as the Citadel.
This particular one, I feel there was a loss of life here. And this man was a sergeant. And this is an American life that was lost in this particular cell. And I feel badly. I feel beaten. I don't feel that I lost life
this guy's seen some
from
shit,
gunfire. I lost life because
shit.
of neglect. I was neglected. I am responding to, there's a definite sense here that I'm hungry, I'm thirsty. There could not be any crime in the world worth the punishment that I feel.
Wow, man, this is pretty, what a fool.
This entity endured.
Can you imagine you're on this VIP tour of Alcatraz and you repay them by saying like, oh, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty.
Peter had correctly identified the dank dungeon where military prisoners were kept.
Lock his ass
These
up in
specific
there on the
ghost
way out.
images he felt were later substantiated by our experts.
I'm feeling an American here. I'm feeling an American serviceman right here.
Men were kept chained down there, sometimes
oh man,
chained
there's the guy from the original CSI.
through iron rings to the floor. Other times, as we understand, chained with iron rings in the ceiling.
Something is like
Carlos Estevez
going through my stomach. It feels like something metal, and my legs are in chains as well. I'm feeling that if I stay here much longer, that I'll die.
Peter's feelings of death and torment followed us through the night. At daybreak, we replayed Peter's observations for our experts, like ex-guard Al Bloomquist. And after each of Peter's encounters, our experts confirm the accuracy of his psychic visions.
Man, I love that movie where he trained the pig.
To comply with these orders that I'm being given, and I feel like I'm being trapped here in this particular area.
I feel like I'm
we were
being
told
trapped.
there's trouble on the rock.
On May the 2nd, 1946, 6 inmates with other lesser accomplices decided to blast their way out of the prison.
I feel like I'm being thrown into this cell, and I'm being thrown into that cell.
During that time, they gathered up 9 officers.
Wow.
Put them inside of cells to be used as hostages.
Who are the people in here? 4 or 5? Are they prisoners?
No, I am a person of authority. I feel like I should be on the other side of this of the bars, but I'm here against my will. I am here by I am placed here by force, and
I would be so good at this. I could be so convincing as a person who does these kind of scams.
And at the point of a gun,
Who's holding it? Who's shooting?
I feel there is a
I'm embarrassed.
that Joseph
I'm embarrassed.
is involved here.
Joseph Kretzer, he was one of the toughest of the bunch. He was really a mean dog.
What does Joseph have to do with this?
Joseph is keeping me captive here. Joseph is placing me here against my will.
Where's Joseph?
Joe Kretzer took the .45 automatic and started shooting these officers, innocent officers inside the cell.
I'm sensing that I, Bill or William, lost his life here.
Only one.
Only one.
4 or 5 here.
There are 4
there?
here, but others are wounded. But I only feel one loss of life in this particular place.
Whose voice are you hearing?
I'm hearing William.
Jedi
There's Bill
Rich.
or William.
William Miller later died in the hospital in San Francisco. Other officers were very seriously wounded.
The name starts with a C.
Cecil Corwin.
Oh my gosh, the Gangster Gloria nickname is sticking too. I love it. I think that's such a great nickname for her.
Had his lower jaw torn away.
It's a wonder they weren't all killed in the spot.
Alarm sounded. Military reinforcements arrived.
No, but that's the beauty of it. These people are suckers. They're saps. They'll if I start laughing, I'll just say, "Oh, I'm sorry. Something funny happened here." Something funny happened here 50 years ago. I'm sorry. The spirit is speaking to me through laughter.
Arrived. The inmates fled to a utility corridor.
The worse you are at it, the more they believe
46 years
you.
later, Peter James led our cameras to the same, now dark, corridor.
Peter, you've sensed a lot in there.
Yes.
Why don't you we have an infrared lens on the camera. Why don't you go in there
Oh
with
boy,
the
that night
camera
vision.
and see what you can do?
I would like that. I would like that. Joseph, I'm coming through. Marty, Marv. Give me a better verification of a name. Marvin?
Marvin?
Is
Hello?
that
Is
Marvin?
someone calling to me? I'm hearing
Marvin
someone
Hubbard
calling my name.
died in the utility corridor of C block.
Whew. There's I am responding to a sensation here, and I feel like I'm losing consciousness.
I can't sell it. We'll see. Next time I go to a historic site, I'm gonna have one of these moments, and we'll see.
And what Joseph is telling me is that he's been shot.
Joseph Dutch Kretzer died in the utility corridor of C block.
Oh, it's cold. It's freezing back here. There's a cold spot here. Oh, yes. Hello? There is the third soul here with the letter B.
Can you imagine this bullshit asking these people for money and then you just walk around going, ooh, hello, I'm embarrassed.
Died in the utility corridor of C block.
Listen, they're moaning.
This guy is a scam.
The pain is so intense. They're like little boys back here. They're moaning, almost asking for the guidance of their parents right now. There are at least 100 ghosts here, 100 entities that walk these corridors, looking for a way out, looking for that life force that they seem to have lost somewhere, tragically.
I can't really say that I'm a believer myself, but like many people, I guess, there are some things that just simply are unexplained.
After my night on Alcatraz, it was hard to ignore the images and voices evoked by Peter James, but I still have questions about what we experienced together. Joining me now from Los Angeles is psychic Peter James. Peter, good of you to join us.
Thank you, Jim. Nice to have you here.
We were together there that evening, and people who see the tape might wonder, is this guy for real? I don't believe it. It looks like he was making it up. He probably memorized a book. He talked to the guards. He went there half a dozen times. How do you answer that?
I had no prior knowledge other than what the general public knows about Alcatraz.
We were there together. I tried to be as open as I could through those hours. And as I told you at the time, I didn't hear the voices. I didn't see anything. I didn't sense what you sensed. Does that say something about me or about you, the differences between us, or does it say something about the entities? They don't choose to speak to you.
It says something about all of us, Tim, in that we all spend too much...
I like that no one that went along with them experienced anything except for this guy's antics.
...time and trying to...
Joaquin Phoenix needs to play him in the movie.
...disprove that there is another side rather than to simply bridge those gaps of ignorance, as I put it.
Hi, we're in a
yes,
prison.
some of us
Something
are
bad
more acutely
in this
sensitive
room.
as I am.
Can you turn it on and off, Peter, or are you seeing and hearing things all the time?
I see things all the time. I don't know
me
that
and this
you
guy.
can, but I am able to turn it off and on, yes.
Peter James, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
And we will be back with more sightings in just a moment.
Coming up next, since 1991, hundreds of Mexican citizens have captured astonishing new evidence of UFOs on videotape. What could it mean? Find out tonight.
Now, for the first time on American television, an in-depth look at the largest documented UFO sighting in history. Every week since 1991, thousands of unidentified flying objects have been sighted over Mexico City. And there are people who believe this is just the beginning of an alien invasion predicted more than 3,000 years ago. The sightings began on July 11th, 1991. On that day, there was a total eclipse of the sun. One of the best places in the world to view the eclipse was Mexico City. And for the first time, because of the home video revolution, thousands of people pointed their video cameras to the skies.
Have I ever been visited by the ghost of Jim Neihart? No, unfortunately, no. I would love, though, to wake up and, like, my eyes would pop open real quick and Jim Neihart would be right there, like, stroking his beard and do that laugh and then, like, poof, just disappear into the ether.
Exactly at the time of the full solar
Oh
eclipse.
boy, look at this guy, Lee Elders. Okay, buddy. Isn't that actually Richard Branson, if we're being honest?
This shaped craft appears over the city, hovers for over 30 minutes. 17 people on the ground recorded it on home video, and that's never...
We need an overlay like that for when we watch the wrestling shows that get shut down.
Happened before in the history of ufology.
When modern scientists forecasted the date of the historic solar eclipse, they weren't alone. Some believe the ancient Mayas also predicted the exact date of the eclipse more than 3,000 years ago. This Maya calendar made another startling revelation. It predicted that on the day of the eclipse, a new age of enlightenment would begin. It's referred to as the prophecy of the sixth sun.
The legend of the sixth sun, the new sun, signified by the great eclipse that just occurred, speaks of an opening of knowledge. The sixth sun indicates precisely the moment of its arrival.
What a great death.
Strangely, on the day of the
Great
eclipse,
death.
something did arrive in the skies over Mexico. Hundreds of those home video cameras that were shooting the eclipse got something completely unexpected.
Bormer's my favorite character because, well, I mean, he's got that just amazing death, but also, like, he was, like, he was susceptible to the temptation, but, like, he bootstrapped it and overcame it.
UFOs, unidentified flying objects, all videotaped by hundreds of different people. So far, more than 110 home videos have been verified as containing footage of unexplained craft.
It may sound difficult to believe.
What is up with these people's hairstyles?
In a city with almost 20 million people that practically every afternoon you can see a UFO.
Jaime Mason is one of the most respected television journalists in Mexico City today, hosting a Mexican version of 60 Minutes. Masson calls himself a former skeptic.
During the last year, thousands, and I would say hundreds of thousands of people have witnessed UFOs. What I feel is important as an investigative reporter is the fact that the evidence presented was never questioned. The credibility of the witnesses was attacked, not the proof that they presented.
Yeah.
People from all walks of life video.
Yeah, Boromir got one of my all-time favorite, like maybe top 5 deaths ever in a movie.
Taped wave after wave of UFOs hovering in the sky. Sightings has obtained the exclusive U.S. rights to these historic tapes. One of the first to come forward with his home video was respected dentist Dr. Marco Antonio Rosas.
The people are definitely not nervous or afraid of the appearances of the UFOs. The people actually like the idea and feel that these appearances can bring some benefit to the Earth.
After the first tapes were released, more and more people came forward with tapes and photographs. Just outside Mexico City, in the town of Atlisco, the police chief revealed that he had photographs he could not explain. The chief had been trying to take surveillance photographs of a drug smuggler's plane. But when the photos were developed, a startling image was revealed.
And I said, "What is this?" I got upset. I threw the photographer out. I told him this was of no use to my investigation. I showed it to my assistant in the office. I said, "Look what this guy brought me." He said, "Hey, that's nice. What would you think if we blew it up?" So we called the photographer back in and I asked him.
That guy reminded me so much of Pedro Morales that it triggered my go to the concession stand feelings from like muscle memory.
To enlarge the picture. From there, all this came out.
Sure.
The truth is, I still don't know what's in that picture. It's a mystery to me.
Since the eclipse, the UFO sightings have continued week in and week out, and the acceptance of the phenomena by government officials has made even the most reticent eyewitnesses willing to come forward.
There's a fight between Jet Li. I still think that one will always have an advantage to me because in true like pro wrestler fashion, there's lore that goes along with it. There was a build to that fight that made it like so much more intense. But there was a scene in Fist of Legend where Jet Li fights like I don't know if he's a commander in the army or but he's some kind of big shot in the army. He's a big tall guy. They have a crazy fight though that's really good too that like popped into my head.
Padre Ferrer, a priest at a local Catholic church, has seen and recorded these mysterious UFOs.
Man, I hate Pedro Morales. I don't like him at all. I think he's one of the most boring wrestlers. I didn't like him when I was a kid. As an adult, like I try not to fast forward through the matches when I'm watching them, but like Pedro matches, I'm like super tempted unless it's like maybe an interesting opponent or whatever. But Pedro is just like, ugh, complete snooze.
Christ speaks of his kingdom as not being from this world, that his angels would help him. But these writings are very dangerous and I don't like to use them. But I believe that there is a possibility. I believe there are a lot of possibilities. I came out to take a video of that pine tree against the light. When I came up, I saw the light appear over the mountain over there. It was not an ordinary light. It was blue.
This is historic, guys.
And very intense. I've never been afraid of something like this.
What interesting
On the contrary,
decor here.
what I've been able to observe has been wonderful. Once a philosopher said, if God is outside of the truth, I'll stay with the truth. So I feel there is no contradiction.
On the day the Pope
Unlike
died?
the U.S., where UFO controversy most often takes place outside the media mainstream, the Mexico mass sightings are discussed openly on national television. Not everyone agrees the UFOs are extraterrestrial craft. But in Mexico, healthy debate on the true origin of these UFOs is encouraged.
This is great.
So, to rule out the possibility that these UFOs are conventional aircraft or an organized hoax, we had our videotape footage analyzed by David Froning, retired chief scientist at a major...
I think that Padre Ferrer would grant anything if you were willing to slide him a few bucks. Maybe like a couple of those silver coins.
Aerospace firm.
As far as the pictures of in-flight videos, this is about as good as I've seen. They demonstrate a field propulsion technology that's far beyond anything that I'm aware of that we have today. Most scientists look at these things as not that these are phenomena that violate known physical laws. It's just that they're phenomena that our known laws cannot explain right now.
If these craft do defy the laws of physics as we know them, could they be alien spacecraft?
Wow,
do they portend a visitation by an enlightened civilization, as some believe? Since our investigation, the sightings have gained international notoriety. 2 crews from Japan and a European team are there now.
I got to get a drink and switch trains. I'll be right back.
We'll keep you updated on their findings.
Coming up next, a special Sightings UFO update. One of our viewers captures startling footage of a UFO from his backyard in Southern California.
The unprecedented documentation of sightings in Mexico demonstrates that home video cameras are revolutionizing the study of UFOs. Just recently, one of our viewers captured a UFO on tape and immediately sent it to us.
But when we first seen it, it was towards that area over here to the west, and it was moving real slowly, hovering and stopping, hovering, stopping. When it got to about this area here, it just zoomed that way real fast. And it stopped and just started blinking on and off.
The Rosas family was enjoying an evening swim at their home in Fontana, California, when this UFO appeared to hover over them for about 4 minutes.
Look, it's moving fast now, isn't it?
It has 4 spots, Grandpa. Look at...
Santos Rosas describes the object as a glowing orange, square-shaped craft.
There's no way it could have been a helicopter or an airplane because it didn't have no strobe lights on it, and it didn't make no noise. To me, it was a UFO, because there was no jet, there wasn't a helicopter, I know that. Well, we were stunned, because we'd never seen anything like this before. And all my grandsons and my daughter and my wife, they couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I still don't believe it.
Is this light a UFO? The Fontana Police Department couldn't explain it, and a call to military bases operating in the area would not identify this sighting as a military craft.
If you've videotaped what you believe to be a UFO, or if you've had any type of unexplained paranormal experience you'd like to share, our Sightings investigative team wants to know.
To report your sighting, please call 1...
To report your sightings, please send us 75 cents per minute.
1-900-740-SIGHT. 1-900-740-SITE. The call costs 75 cents per minute.
I bet we'll get
Average
some
call lasts 2 minutes.
about it.
The number again to report your paranormal experiences, 1-900-740-7483. Must be...
I think if the new pope is less progressive than this pope, that there will definitely be conspiracy theories that, like, something happened.
18 years or older.
Join us next time for new investigations. For Sightings, I'm Tim White. Good night.
Thanks, Tim.
Tomorrow, an amusement park accident leaves a woman.
Thanks, Tim. All right, buckle up, guys. Listen to this lineup. Season 2, Episode 2, Ghost Update, Paranormal Photography, and are you ready for this? Werewolves.
Deals with controversial subjects. The theories expressed are not the only possible interpretation. The viewer is invited to make a judgment based on all available information. Tonight on Sightings, some claim this man is a real live werewolf, and those who were savagely attacked believe it's true.
He's seen the
They need to interview the wolf pack on TikTok.
transfiguration of a man into a wolf.
Then, this woman captured eerie images on film that have baffled scientists. Some say they're UFOs, some say they're ghosts. Our experts attempt to unravel the mystery.
I think this episode is stacked. Excuse me, I think it's going to be a good one. Werewolves, dogmen.
Welcome to Sightings. I'm Tim White. In a new investigation, we found that werewolves seem to be more than just fantasy. They could be victims of what's known as lycanthropy. Without warning, victims say that they're turned into raging animals. The cause?
Victims of the full moon.
Some believe it's a mental illness. Others, that it's the result of demonic possession.
Mental illness?
Rational men who turn into irrational, salivating beasts may be Hollywood's version of a classic werewolf. But real werewolves aren't created by makeup artists. To outsiders, this small English town of Southend-on-Sea seems quiet, picturesque, even quaint. But there are secrets here, an evil that lies just beneath the surface.
Baby husky.
You can't see what invisible danger lurks here until
people are
Bill
wild.
Ramsey tells you his story.
The story began when I was 9 years old. It was a very warm summer's evening. Suddenly the air went very cold. There was a terrible stench in the air, and I just flew into the most horrendous rage that my mother and father came out to see what the hell was going on. And the fence post was 2 or 3 inches square. It was set into concrete in the ground. I pulled it out
wow, William
and smashed
Ramsey.
it on the floor till it broke. Well, I don't think I could do that now. My mother and father just couldn't make out why
think he's
their
lying.
little 9-year-old boy suddenly started to act virtually like
He keeps like nervously glancing at the camera.
an animal in the garden.
Into the camera, I mean.
Bill Ramsey thought it was an isolated childhood event. He grew up, married, had children. But then the violent episode from his childhood came back to haunt the adult. Strange animal behavior would overtake him, violence he couldn't control or explain. At first, he could keep it secret, but then one day, Bill Ramsey bit someone in public, and the animal inside
He
him wasn't
bit
a secret
somebody?
anymore. Soon after, Ramsey attacked a nurse at Southend Hospital.
So he bit somebody, and the cops were like, "Hey, what happened here, sir?" And he's like, "Hey, I don't know what to tell you, mate. I'm a werewolf."
I just had the feeling that ultimately I would kill somebody.
Then, without reason or warning, Bill Ramsey attempted the murder of a police officer. He was locked up, and his life became a tangle of police, psychiatrists, and reporters.
I envisaged being in prison for the rest of my life or in a secure mental hospital the rest of my life for something I knew I would never be responsible for.
The unassuming man with the tragic secret was famous now as the werewolf of Southend-on-Sea.
What was causing it? I was literally felt like just committing suicide.
Word of Ramsey's bizarre behavior spread as far as rural Connecticut, where authors Lorraine and Ed Warren were intrigued. The Warrens had documented...
Oh boy, can you believe this? What a talk about burying the lead. So Ed and Lorraine Warren investigated this guy who claimed to be a werewolf. This is fantastic.
over 7,000 cases of the paranormal, and for the past 24 years lectured on demonology at major universities worldwide.
Like I told Lorraine, I said, Lorraine, I'm not going to go before the public and start talking about a werewolf. I said, it's going to be interesting to go there, see what we can do to help this man, but that's about it.
See, I didn't realize that was Ed Warren. I thought that was John Wayne Gacy when he first came up.
He felt that that was just stretching our credibility just a little too far to believe in werewolves. But I believe.
The Warrens went to England to investigate Ramsey's case. They had many questions. Was Ramsey...
Oh, you think you're a werewolf? Are you willing to fly my husband and I over for a vacation? Certainly. We'll be there.
Common criminal.
We
Was he
believe
mentally
you.
ill? Or was he really a werewolf, possessed by what they believed was the devil? They spoke with Inspector Tony Belford, who was there the night Ramsey tried to murder a fellow officer.
What I actually saw that night...
Oh, boy. Dale Earnhardt.
I couldn't really understand
The
what
English
it was.
Dale
All I knew
Earnhardt.
that it was something that I'd never witnessed before. It was not natural behaviour.
That night, Bill Ramsey became confused and lost control. He picked up a prostitute and without explanation drove her to the police station.
So I took the prostitute inside, leaving Sergeant Terry Fisher out in the yard with Ramsey.
He had these mad, staring eyes and this maniacal expression. That's all I can describe it as.
Terry
The
Fisher.
worst thing was what he was saying, and it was said in a very malevolent way. And I'll quote from the report I made shortly afterwards. He was saying, "The devil is in me. When the devil is in me, I am strong. I'm going to kill you. I am strong, and you are going to die."
Ramsey lunged for the sergeant's throat. Fisher, unarmed, responded with a powerful knee to the groin.
Help! I'm not doing this myself.
And crouched down and
it's the werewolf.
Shrugged it off again and became stronger.
And when I came out into the yard, I saw Terry Fisher on the floor, just over in this location, with Bill Ramsey sitting on top of him with his hands around his throat.
Then there were bobbies that came to their sergeant's aid, and he threw them off, in their words, like they were matchsticks.
A little voice back here said, "Terence, you've come unstuck this time."
And when you see the size of this ex-police officer, you'll say to yourself, what scared him so much? Why this one experience? Because he's seen something that very few people ever see. He's seen the transfiguration of a man into a wolf.
It took 5 officers to subdue Bill Ramsey, who was not under the influence of any drugs.
When I say he snarled and he growled, it was an impression of his lips turning up and showing his teeth. And I can recollect actually saying at the time in the reports that I filed that he took on the appearance of a mad dog.
Like a caged animal, Ramsey tried to escape.
His head, right arm, up to his shoulder was outside this hole. It's difficult to actually visualize a head and an arm out there, but I can assure you I saw it, 5 or 6 firemen saw it, a doctor saw it, and I would suggest up to 7 or 8 policemen saw it. None of which could believe what was actually seen.
Oh, wow, that's kind of a neat painting.
Finally, Ramsey was heavily sedated, soaked with liquid soap, and squeezed back through the hole. Badly shaken, Officer Fisher took early retirement. Inspector Belford was left to account for Ramsey's bizarre behavior.
I submit this report for your information, and to have recorded
I don't even know what's going on
that
at
it
this
is in
point.
my opinion that this man will, if not controlled, end up causing fatal or serious injury to some person.
Criminal charges were not filed. Instead, Bill Ramsey was committed to a mental
He
hospital.
covered himself in liquid soap and then squeezed back into the hole? What in the fuck is happening?
Everybody thought I had a mental problem. It just didn't seem right. But I had no other answer. I couldn't say, well, it's not a mental problem. So, well, you do this normally then, do you? Does everybody, is this normal behaviour? Of course it was a mental problem. Where else could they send me? There was nowhere else.
After psychiatric tests failed to pinpoint the source of Ramsey's behavior, he was released.
What is left? The paranormal, the unknown. And that's where we come in.
Warren's told me that it wasn't a mental illness. I had no mental illness. I was possessed, demonically possessed with a wolf spirit. Oh, God. Oh, I've heard it all.
Do you think at any point Ben was covered in liquid soap while he was in prison? He did say he had that kind of like transcendent moment when somebody gave him a McDonald's breakfast sandwich.
And he kind of closed the evening with, would you come to the USA and be exercised? Exercise? Come on. There's some absolute rubbish they were giving me here. But maybe. I'd been through all the other avenues, remember?
Coming up next, the shocking real-life exorcism when our frightening werewolf story continues.
Oh
The lips rolled up, the teeth protruded, and he tried to bite.
Bill Ramsey was skeptical about the assertion that his werewolf behavior was caused by demonic possession. But ultimately, in desperation, he made the decision to go to America for an exorcism.
A British newspaper paid Bill Ramsey $20,000 for the rights to his story.
Of course.
His private ordeal was now a public spectacle to be played out in rural Connecticut. It was here that the Warrens introduced him to Bishop Richard McKenna, a priest who had performed the dangerous...
Hey, here's a guy that's running around biting people, attacking people. He thinks he's a werewolf. Let's give him a bunch of money.
...ritual of exorcism many times before.
He needed the exercise.
Oh,
no
boy.
question about that.
I should have known it was
think that
McKenna
being possessed
behind
by
this.
the devil is the worst evil that could befall anyone.
I didn't know what to expect.
If we get back to the
when you enter in
mountains.
a realm of the unknown, you're obviously very, very scared.
Since Ramsey had shown superhuman strength, 6 bodyguards with stun guns protected the bishop. Rare still photos are the only visual record of the exorcism.
Lord permitted, the devil could easily kill the exorcist. As I proceeded with the prayers, it didn't seem to be himself. It was just some other person were taking over him. He himself seemed to almost go into a kind of a daze.
I remember him coming to me, at me with that stole, placing it on my head, and it's as if he'd hit me with a hammer almost, because I just did not know anything after that.
It started from behind him, and the muscles in the back of the neck all began to enlarge.
Look at this guy.
And
What a...
the ears began to point, and he howled.
Speak, devil. Be gone in the name of God. Leave him alone.
Victim of a raggedy animal.
Then the hands clawed in such a manner that no human hand could claw like that.
He had begun to make the signs of the cross on
werewolves of Bristol, wherever he's from.
He would violently react and snap his hand at me, and he snarled like an animal.
The lips rolled up, the teeth protruded, and he tried to bite.
Oh, man.
What keeps you here? Go on, Satan. Leave him alone.
It does say something, though, that after all these... Well, now, I guess we had to revisit it, because if he was, in fact, part werewolf, wouldn't we have to overturn some of Randy Couture's UFC wins?
When the devil did leave him, he came to himself.
As I came out the exorcism, you feel that you're a new person.
The man was freed. The man was freed.
Now we're talking.
I felt I wanted to kiss him, kiss Bishop McKenna, because what he'd done. I believe that I was ultimately possessed by the devil, yeah.
Oh my God.
Was Bill Ramsey mentally ill or the victim of demonic possession?
Look at these guys.
No one knows for sure, but one thing is clear. What the police, psychiatrists, and his family couldn't help, the exorcism did. Ramsey returned home to England, and in the 3 years since his exorcism...
You know, doesn't that say something? That he went through, all those people got hurt, all that drama, but the one thing that managed to soothe the savage beast was a check for $20K.
Bill Ramsey has not had a single violent episode.
Coming up next, this woman captured eerie images on film that have baffled scientists. Some say they're UFOs, some say they're ghosts. Our experts attempt to unravel the mystery.
Almost every time Massachusetts housewife Stella Lansing takes a picture, she gets unexplained images on her film. Using any type of camera at all, with any type of film or videotape, Stella Lansing records what appear to be images from another dimension.
We've all had strange things show up on our pictures. Glitches, scratches, strange patterns of light and shadow. Weird images are bound to show up every once in a while. But researchers in the field of paranormal photography believe some of these photos are actually a window to the supernatural.
Now, finally, something that sounds
For 30
reasonable.
years, Stella Lansing has captured bizarre anomalies on film and videotape. Nearly every single time she takes a picture or shoots home movies, strange images appear. Here, a severed arm mysteriously floating in front of this woman's head. Strange facial lesions mark her own self-portrait. A mysterious monk appeared while she was taping a television special about Queen Elizabeth. There's a series of unique clock-like images that defy cinema and time logic and were unheard of in the field of paranormal photography until now.
I probably didn't realize that it was any kind of a gift or anything in the beginning.
Wow,
I was just trying to get
awesome.
proof of what I was seeing.
So
I tried
pink.
with every kind of camera I had. And as this went along, I asked someone if only I had a movie camera, and they let me borrow theirs. And that's when I started to get my very first nighttime sighting.
There is usually a rational and mechanical explanation for what produced a given image on the film, as opposed to a supernatural answer.
The idea that Stella was experiencing more than just mechanical failure first occurred to her while shooting these high-tension wires near her home in Massachusetts.
Suddenly, this burst of light came off of the knoll where I was just facing there and shot up. It seemed like in that direction, toward the moon, in the direction
That's a
of the
pretty
moon,
strong group.
south, southwest. And as it did, all these multicolored lights were flashing. And that's when I got this object that looks like arms sticking out.
A frame-by-frame analysis of Stella's Super 8 film reveals these astonishing images. A group of 4 men, which photo experts have named the occupants. In the 20 years since this Super 8 image was captured, photo analysts have debated its authenticity. I took the footage of the occupants to the Brooks Institute, the prestigious photography study center in Santa Barbara, California.
What could affect a photographic negative like that?
A straight light entering from a small hole near the camera lens, possibly some kind of after effect when the film was taken out of the camera, some kind of a very fine.
Everybody's got a price,
and short light
even
strike
a
to
ghost.
produce those patterns.
8mm motion pictures is so small, frame by frame, that it's virtually impossible to fake them without a sophisticated laboratory and animators. You'd have to run a Walt Disney studio to do it.
Low lighting.
A person like Stella Lansing could not do it.
Even more mysterious than Stella's Super 8 image of the occupants is what happens when the film is transferred to videotape. Then, unidentified voices suddenly appear. Analysts could not explain how Stella's silent 8mm film, with no soundtrack, could suddenly produce sound, replayed here at a slower speed.
Sounds like Jedi Joy.
With no technical knowledge of photography herself, Stella searched for someone who could explain the images in her photos. Dr. Bertold Schwartz, noted psychiatrist and author, took her case and has been studying Stella Lansing for 21 years.
When I first met
What a
Stella,
waste of time.
I became more and more curious because here is a human being that gets these things, the kind of things you read about in the paper, but is seldom documented as one would prefer.
In fact, it was Stella's meticulous records that set her apart. For 30 years,
wow.
she had kept detailed logs of all her photos and films.
As one went over the notes that she had laboriously collected through the years, she'd write on the film boxes.
I say that though, and Thorpe Alert is in a few days is going to have its like 1-year anniversary. So before it's too long, I'm going to be like, they're going to have some documentary about how I documented Grace Thorpe for 21 years.
She'd write on scraps of paper, she'd collect clippings, and you put it all together, the story seems to hang together. And we have to ask the question, how do we explain it? Questions and questions and questions, but then it becomes...
One of my favorite teams of all time is a girl tag team, Lacey and Rain, and they went by the Minnesota Home Wrecking Crew.
Becomes fascinating, a real mystery.
Dude, Rain was lit. Wow, she had a great Indian strap match against Mickey Knuckles one time that was like brutal.
Of the first order.
Some of Stella's most bizarre images are referred to as the clock series, images
Another
captured on
30
film that
years.
surround such things as airplanes and church steeples, appearing at night and during the day. Strangely, when the single lights of the clock formations are enlarged, they reveal spacecraft-like images. And even more astonishing, these so-called spacecraft extend beyond the edge of the film frame.
It overlaps the frames. Indeed, the time-space barrier is smashed in some way by this housewife.
Rand, the clockwork patterns on Stella's photographs, what do you make of them?
I can find some rationale in calling them a mechanical problem in the camera. Some of the consistencies from frame to frame indicate that the exposure was produced not in the camera, but somewhere as a light leak entering the camera, or some other pattern. The pattern appears to be very similar, but not always the same.
But Stella Lansing still got the clock-like formations when she used 6 different cameras, 2 different types of film, inside, outside, in daylight, and at night, in 5 different states. She even succeeded when her camera was switched for another at the last moment. So could Stella Lansing be some...
Yeah, Rain looked, oh my God, Rain was like smoking back in the like mid-2000s. I have a VHS tape, the best of Rain, and it's like she would just sell it like at her gimmick table, but it's just funny because it's a VHS tape, and like that seems like such a like ancient thing, but it was only like 20 years ago, which is still a long ass time.
Somehow affecting her film subconsciously. To find out,
it just doesn't seem like people should have still been selling VHS tapes then, in my mind, for some reason.
Dr. Schwartz has subjected Stella to
But a lot of
psychiatric
people did.
evaluations and brainwave analyses. In 1971, Dr. Schwartz himself filmed this breakthrough field study. He and Stella journeyed from Springfield, Massachusetts to Munson Hill to the power lines where Stella first photographed the occupants.
Oh
Stella
my
saying,
God.
they're going to come.
Okay, so there you go. More New England content. This is where the occupants were photographed.
They're gonna come, they always do. And by golly, we see these two orange or reddish-orange globes. First there's one, then there's two, they're blinking, they seem to hop around. Aim my camera at it, I hope I'm capturing this, I don't know. What does this mean?
I can't even capture
causes
it on
me
my
to
camera.
believe that either there's some type of mind projection, either she's somehow projecting these images onto the film from her imagination, from her own
Kind
mind.
of looks like if Paul Simon
Or
kind of let himself go a little bit.
Another theory, which is certainly not provable, not by me anyway, is could things exist in another dimension in a borderline way where they flicker in and out of our dimension?
21 years later, we accompanied Stella to Munson Hill, the site of her original photo expedition. We wanted to see if Stella would get the same paranormal images under our own controlled conditions.
There's some kind of interaction here, whatever it is.
Felony and Sensual Rain. She was Sensual Rain. She was a good heel too. Natural heel. Complete bitch. I'm not saying personally. I'm saying like her character. She was like a natural bitch.
I don't know what it is, but for some reason, it's just like...
And Mickey Knuckles was like this scrappy, you know, non-conventional redneck chick. So like she was a perfect like foil for Rain.
When I'm driving, I seem to know where to look. I mean, I don't have eyes in the back of my head.
Oh, I'm
but
sure
I
it
seem
does.
to know when to look
Cody
somewhere.
Turbo.
And
Or
I
I sure
look
it did.
like that, and there it is.
Stella also took still photos of our Sightings producer and camera crew, and surprising results occurred at the Palm.
It kind of to mirror, well, like, I remember I made a post a long time ago on I think it's a now defunct board, but it was like, something about just like saying that like I had been to the show that night and I liked the match with Rain, and I felt like people didn't like, you know, because it was a women's match. Women's wrestling was viewed much differently back then, and like that maybe, you know, she wasn't getting like the credit, and like 50 people called me. It was just like 50 straight posts of people calling me an F slur.
Palmer Photo Lab, where Stella's film was developed, the first thing their technician ruled out was light flare.
Ric Flair.
This is what's interesting right here. This seems to have solidity to it here. It's almost an oval shape. And right here also has the same thing. That is really strange.
It has all the attributes of classic camera flare.
Cody Turbo Rain is probably like 50 years old now, I would think.
But all the light was behind Stella, not behind
Oh,
the
no,
subject.
maybe not. Maybe 45-ish.
There appears to be some sort of a light source just breaking over her shoulder.
But it would be visible to the
It would
naked
be
eye.
visible.
It would be like a flashbulb or something.
It could have been a very transitory event, very short in duration, where the human eye and brain in combination just didn't recognize it, but the film did for whatever reason.
I believe in what I'm doing, and I know there's something out there, and nobody can tell me it isn't.
Debate continues on what is actually appearing in Stella's films. We'll keep you updated on the results. of
She's
future
43. Wow,
investigations.
she's younger than me.
With the study of paranormal phenomena in its infancy, we may never know for sure what's really appearing in Stella Lansing's films. Are the images ghosts, UFOs, or some unexplained byproduct of Stella's own mind?
Coming up, an exclusive Sightings update when we revisit a Texas family.
I think Rain and Lacey were part of the crew that came down with like Jimmy Jacobs, Josh Abercrombie, Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin, like the Michigan crew. I think.
Threatened by a sinister apparition.
Sightings, we brought you the story
Pont
of the
Flair.
Lamonis family. of
Mickey
Dallas,
is still
Texas,
wrestling? Oh, I'm
who
sure.
Said they
Dude,
were
she's
being
a
terrorized by
lifer
a
for
ghostly
sure, I
entity.
think.
To rid their house of the ghostly presence, the Lamonises participated in a seance. Our team of psychics appeared to make contact, but since then, the entity has returned.
We have decided to move. Things are still happening here in the house.
She knows that I don't want her terrified, and I don't want the children scared to death.
I miss
And it's
him,
best
man.
that
We
they
need him
move.
back.
The Lamonises can't live with the fear any longer. They've moved out.
The Lemons
But no
have
one
left.
knows what
They did
awaits
not
the
make
next
lemonade.
family that lives in this Dallas house.
They made alternate housing arrangements.
To report your sighting, call 1-900-740-SIGHT. Each call, 75 cents a minute. Average call lasts 2 minutes, and you must be 18 years or older.
Well, women's wrestling back then, get crack, isn't like it is now, where it's good, like they train people based off of how they look. So like a lot of the women were just people who wanted to get into who like really were passionate about wrestling, and unfortunately, like a lot of them were not very like attractive, at least in my opinion.
Again, the Sightings hotline, 1-900-740.
I don't know why, but for some reason I'm remembering when Anthrax fucked Mitch Ryder, and like when we got to the show that night, the evening after, like after the show the night before, the two of them had hooked up. And then for some reason, I don't even remember why, but it was like people acted like it was such a big deal at the time.
7483.
Join us next time for new investigation.
Anthrax was an interesting performer too. I don't know if she ever made it past like regional indies, but she was pretty good. She was like a more of like a power type wrestler.
For Sightings, I'm Tim White. Good night.
Oh yeah, he was just trolling. He was trying to like get a reaction out of me at the border. Rationing and then remember, are you old enough, BB, to remember that like on certain plans, like after 9, you could just go nuts? You know what I mean? There were like little windows of time, like hour windows that you could just like, you had like unlimited minutes or texts. All right, I don't have enough to watch another. I don't have enough time to watch another episode, but I want to see if I can find Rain versus Mickey Knuckles. This might bring the stream down. If it is, it's, you know, it's okay. I'll be back tomorrow. The strap match was so good. Oh my god. There's Mickey now. She's like has a punk rock gimmick. This is more of what she looked like at the time that back there. Let's see. I don't even know how to find like Rain. Rain and Lacey, I guess, maybe. Who's Buddy Jewel? Here's Lacey versus Rain. Oh, wait a minute. I don't know how good that match will be, though. Oh, well, we'll just watch, here we go. I don't think we're getting, yeah, we're not going to be able to see them good enough in this one. We need to see them. Here we go. So they were in the first ever women's CZW match. That's kind of interesting.
CZW Fake UTV, and I'm here with Lacey, who came all the way from Minneapolis, Minnesota to participate.
Oh, they were from Minnesota. Okay. They must have picked up with the Michigan people at some point on the trip because they all came together. This was her partner, Lacey, in the Minnesota Home Wrecking Crew. She was like Jimmy Jacobs' manager for a long time.
In the first ever women's match here at the CZW Arena.
And then she managed other people in like Ring of Honor.
An opponent you faced on many occasions back in Minneapolis. What's running through your mind moments before this historic match?
You know what? I may just look like a typical nice next-door girl from Minneapolis, but don't let my appearance fool you. Rain and I have had many battles all over the Midwest. This is our first trip to the East Coast, and I'm going to prove to all the CZW fans and all the CZW wrestlers that even though I am a woman, I take this business just as seriously as everyone else.
Tell them.
Okay, well, we'll have to find out what happens on this historic first match at the CZW Arena.
Combat Zone Wrestling returns to Viking Hall in South Philly, Saturday night, June 8th, with an 8 p.m. bell time.
What an icon. That's kind of what I was thinking when she first came out and started doing like those facial expressions. I was like, oh my god, is this like, is what happened to Dave Prazak? He was in IWA Mid-South for a long time as a commentator and manager. Then he started his own promotion called Shimmer, which was like all women. I think it was successful for a long time, and I don't know really what happened to him after that.
And here comes Lacey. Lacey, a 2-year veteran, John. She is a professional ballerina.
Like, did you see how natural Rain was at like shit talking the crowd and like, you know, putting on the like performance?
Logan check 2 wrestlers as quickly check these 2.
Man, that was close.
Yes, he's doing a great job too.
Rain was like a fantastic heel, like amazing. She just immediately, everybody hated her. Like, she was just a great heel. The leader of that Minnesota crew was, at this time, was Austin Aries, who was also an I did get a little bit of, like, I'm not saying this metaphorically, but, like, I did get some inner circle access. Like, I did get to hang out with some of the people, like, outside of wrestling, and get to talk to them about, you know, some stuff, just depending on who was in and which hotels they were staying in and stuff like that. But I didn't get any. There was no. I didn't interact with the rats. The rats at the time were not. Were a little quiet.
To the midsection. A hair mare. Hair mare. Let's call that a hair mare. I have called women's matches in the past. And let me tell you something. This may be the greatest women's match I've ever seen.
Wrestlers from this era were pretty easy to, like, I'm talking about, like, at this era when, like, the legends would come into shows. A lot of times if you just, like, you know, like, telling Honky Tonk Man that he drew the WrestleMania 3 crowd, not Hogan, and stuff like that. Like, they just saying easy shit like that, just fluffing their ego, and they would, like, open up to you and start telling you stories. Of course, they were probably all lies, but the hard camera is... She pulled the pin so that she could be seen doing the taunt to the hard camera. Now she's playing to the crowd on the hard camera side. Consummate professional. Glorious sequence. This is a great match. I feel like she got her there, but whatever.
And these fans behind them. You're not going to find a tougher crowd to perform a women's match in front of this CZW crowd.
And, like, being honest, nothing against Lacey, but, like, Lacey is not the worker that Mickey Knuckles was. Like, the matches with Mickey Knuckles and Rain are, like, wild, like strong style matches. Like, Rain really comes to life against Mickey Knuckles. I think this is a good match, but I just think, like, it's not showing Rain at, like, her best. Oh, there we go. Oh, come on, Dave Prazak.
Did he do anything right around here? He's an idiot. I've known Prazak for years, and he hasn't gotten any smarter. He hasn't gotten any girls either. German suplex. German suplex. Damn. What a match. I still can't believe it, Eric. We got women in these.
All right. It looks like, well, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to put me back up or not. I got to go, though, but I'll